Hello world, and welcome to the 10th annual CS50 Fair. My name is Doug Lloyd.
My name is David Malin. And this is indeed the 10th CS50 Fair, and boy has it come so far. Back at the very first CS50 Fair, I think it was pretty much like me holding a balloon, hoping that people would come by.
Just one.
But now we have hundreds of CS50 students, hundreds of students and faculty and staff across campus, and even hundreds of CS50 AP students who are taking CS50 at their own high school.
Yeah, it's a great crowd already to start. We just got started about a half an hour ago. This is our second annual live show of the CS50 Fair, so this is also a lot of fun and exciting.
Indeed, Doug is looking forward to going strong for the next several hours.
So many hours!
So many hours of CS50 Fair, and what are we going to see throughout the day?
We're going to see student projects, we're going to do interviews from the floor, from the interview station. There's a whole lot of things that are going to happen today. We'll see lots of changes as well. We've changed the look of the fair. As you mentioned, things have changed quite a bit in the last 10 years.
No more balloons this year. Instead, above our heads, we have hundreds, maybe thousands of LED lights, all of which are software controlled, so that Colton and the team on lighting can actually synchronize the lights with the song that is playing.
Always innovating here at CS50.
Shall we take a look at what's going on?
We should get right to the action. So I'm going to toss things over to the interview station where Arnav has a student who's going to be talking about a stock analyzing app. Let's get started.
Hello, welcome to CS50. I'm Arnav, a teaching fellow for this course. And today I have with me my two lovely friends, Paul and Andrew, here to talk more about their project Plastin. Hey Andrew, hey Paul, do you guys want to introduce yourselves, tell us more about your project?
Sure. Yeah, hi, I'm Andrew Soldini. I'm a junior economic statistics concentrator in Lowell House. And
hi, I'm Paul. I'm a junior. I live in LA. I study statistics.
And do you want to tell us more about Plastin? You know, what made you guys start with the project?
Yeah, for sure. So our project is a stock sentiment analyzer. So what we do is we allow the user to choose a portfolio of stocks to analyze, and then our program allows the user to gather data on the sentiment as well as a stock price and see trends between them. So over here is Plastin, and if we go on sentiment record, so my portfolio currently consists of Apple, Tesla, and Alibaba. So I'm just going to look at Apple, and then we can analyze Apple, and what it will do is it will show us a graph of the sentiment score. So a graph of the sentiment and the stock price. So in yellow is the sentiment on a scale from -1 to 1, 1 being positive, and red is the stock price. So we can kind of see trends over time.
yeah, and they're really easy to compare in this because the graphs have dual axes that make it really, I don't know, just easy to see and laid out. Also shows remarkable trends that over time really correlate. Things correlate pretty well. You can zoom out and then see more data. It collects sentiment data even when the market's closed. So then you also have the last couple days tracked, and we can do this for any stock once we put it in our database.
Yeah, so it updates every 90 seconds. Every 90 seconds it gathers data. And one of the cool things is that in our database, if you select a stock that's not yet in our database, it will automatically add to the database. So starting from that date on, it will gather data on the sentiment and stock price.
Yeah. Sweet. So what APIs did you guys use to get the sentiment data and then the stock prices over time?
Yeah, so for the sentiment, we use tweets. So we gather tweets from an API called StockTwits. It gathers the 30 latest and relevant tweets on a stock. And then we use natural language processor to analyze the sentiment of each tweet. And the average sentiment score is the sentiment score of the stock at that time.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So, I mean, this project is amazing. I just have one quick question about the name. The name sounds kind of peculiar to me. So how did you guys come up with the name?
I mean, the name is quite literally our initials. Paul obviously comes first, but then me, and then we have a third partner who happens to be missing at this moment, off enjoying the fair.
Yeah, so just our initials. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Sweet. And thank you so much, guys, for talking to us more about your project, and I wish you guys the best of luck.
All right, thanks so much,
you,
Arnav.
Paul.
Thank you.
Thanks, Arnav. Thanks.
All right, so that was a really cool project, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of PSET 6 and PSET 7 from this year for anybody who's followed along. But before we get too far away, there's somebody new sitting next to me over here I need to introduce. This is my colleague, Carvalho.
Hi, everyone. So we're here at the fair. It looks so much different than last year, but I'm loving it. I already got to see a few projects, and it's pretty great.
Now, Aaron's going to be with us on and off for the next couple hours, and Aaron is a very punny person. Aaron, it's fairly nice to have you with us today.
Well, thank you very much. I didn't have another one planned, but
I know, I caught you off guard.
More to come.
She'll have more to come, I'm sure, on that. I think we're about to go back out into the field in just a moment, but yeah, any other thoughts on this big change in scenery this year before we head over?
I mean, I think that the students are definitely enjoying this new vibe. I think it's a really interesting atmosphere to be here live, and hope you guys get to get a little taste of that today.
All right, so and you kind of taking a look at that stock analyzer project. It was really cool. It kind of tied together a couple of key sets and introduced some new things as well. So it's always fun to see students sort of taking the things they learn in the class and like turning it up a notch and really innovating and doing something different and fun with it. So I believe now we're going to head out into the field and take a look at another student's project right in the thick of it.
Awesome. All right, so we're here with Keller E and Anna, and they're going to share their project with us. So, what is your project's title? What does it do? And give us a little bit of an elevator pitch.
It's basically called Map of Tweets, and basically you can search any trending topic right now, and it'll listen for tweets as they're happening right now, and then give you the 10 most recent results. And then it'll show up as markers on the map, and you can kind of click on each one and sort of see the user, the tweet, and what time the tweet was posted.
Awesome, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Anna, would you like to give us a live demo of how your project works?
All right, so originally we've been searching Trump, but it's a little controversial.
A little bit, just
so
a
we'll
little.
search Friday.
That is much less controversial than Trump, I will give you that.
And hopefully
right.
people are speaking about Friday right now.
That would be really awesome. I like the little spinning thing you got on.
Oh,
Whoa,
amazing.
look at that, that's awesome.
All right, so let's pull up this tweet from Massachusetts. It's just a bunch of, all right.
Oh, very nice. Everyone's excited about, looks like hoops and Friday. Yeah, Friday's awesome in general. That is a good point. Awesome, very
right.
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you guys very much for sharing. Very cool app.
Back. So we are live out in the field. So there's a lot of people, there's a lot of wires. So apologies if there are any visual difficulties that you have there, a little static. It's just gonna happen when we have this many people packed into one spot at once. I saw that student's app is working with maps, which is pretty cool. We introduced students to that a little bit near the end of the course as well.
Pulling in some tweets and showing it on that same interface that we use for mashup.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a problem set that has a map-based element to it, problem set 8, and the student was pulling in the map-based portions of that, as well as using other APIs that look like to make some more connections on the map, which is cool. It's nice to see those visual projects that really tie things to specific geography. That's a lot of fun.
For sure. All right, so I think we're headed over to see a project called Hangry.
Let's head over to the interview station and take a look.
All right, thanks, Doug. We're here with Priya and Kevin to show us your project. So what did you guys make today?
So, have you ever been so hungry that you got angry?
I could say I am a little bit right now.
Right? Like, me too, actually. So this app is built to deal with your hangriness.
So basically, if you're on campus and you want to just know where there's free food, and at Harvard there's always free food. There's always some organization offering cupcakes, Felipe's, notes, whatever. It's really good. We want to compile a way to see all of that visually on a map and see where it is relative to you. Because honestly, you don't want to walk all the way across campus to go to some free food event. You're hungry now, and you need to satisfy that hunger as soon as possible. So basically,
yeah, for sure. Do you want to give us a walkthrough?
Yeah.
It's getting cold outside, so I don't want to walk for my free food.
Exactly.
And sometimes the dining hall just doesn't cut it. So what this app does is we use a geocoder API to determine where we are in relation to the map.
Okay.
Still a little bit of marginal error on that, but we're working on it. And then it's able to map events that are near you with free food. So for example, Sanders Theater might have some cupcakes because DJM is great. Or currently,
yeah, there's a lot of free food here. Oh, look at that.
Right, so at the Northwest Labs, you might not have known, but there's popcorn at this event, so you're able to mark what's going on around you and just go hunt the food down.
All right, really important question for you guys. Who came up with the name Hangry?
It was definitely
Oh no. And what time was that during the hackathon? Was that 3 a.m., 4 a.m.?
That was like the birth of the idea.
we thought of the name first, and we developed the app
we'll figure
around
the rest out later.
Cool, awesome. So what has been your favorite part of CS50 so far? Would you say the project or?
I feel like for me, it's been a really exciting course because one of the best parts of CS is when you get to collaborate with other people, and that like community building is just huge in this class.
It's definitely so cool to make something. It was like very stressful to get something together, I think, but like now that you're here, that you can present, it's like the process was fun and it was a lot of work, but I think it was
like
worth
worthwhile.
it.
Yeah.
And it's like where else are you going to be able to have this kind of event with big inflatable rubber ducks and little inflatable rubber ducks?
Yeah.
And like the companies here and people and popcorn. So that's all really exciting, I think. But yeah, definitely want to plug the web page.
Oh, please do. Wow.
Steve Jobs endorses our project, so.
All right, so I think I know his favorite feature of your product. What would you say is yours? Same page?
This is great. There's a lot of hidden Easter eggs in this project. So like, let's say you're about to submit a form. Maybe there's a networking event with Goldman.
Oh, look at that.
So you want to find your champagne and caviar.
Oh,
great.
no.
The birds are going to support you.
That's so good.
So yeah, that's been fun.
Cool. And so what was the hardest part, would you say?
Oh, this project or the CS50? You're
What
live.
happened?
This project.
Yeah, this is Owen.
Walked in. Okay, didn't realize.
All right. All these hangry people walking around.
Exactly.
Let's say of this project, what did you find most difficult? Was it kind of like doing your own thing, or would you say it was a particular feature?
I think the hardest part is in this class, we've like gotten to know the basics of every little thing, but it was hard to pull that all together, I think. Like we knew what was possible, we knew what we could do, and we just had to consistently like just get it done and like, be able to figure it out and make sure everything's working, because like sometimes we don't know where the problem lies. It could be in the HTML, it could be in our sourcing, it could be in the Flash, it could be in the CS50 IDE. Like, you know, it was so hard just to continue to pull it all together.
Another big thing with like problem solving was just that we like got to look up different types of uses online, and just trying to integrate them with the code was also really cool to take off.
Yeah. So you guys ready to get some food now?
So ready.
Yeah.
You hangry?
Been hangry for a while.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Manica. You know, that project was, they said something in the middle of that was just so great, like talking about like how CS50, the final project, is like making something that is important to you, or like it's fun. And like that app speaks to me on a deep level.
And I feel like CS50 is probably half of that app. We have so much free food at all of our events.
We do have a lot of free food and stuff at all of our events. They mentioned there's popcorn and candy, and everybody's going to stay very sugared up, I think, over the course of the next couple hours. But that's just great to see students like putting something together. That's great too,
something
because
that they're passionate about.
Something they're passionate about, and it's like tied to campus. Like we really love it when students bring projects that are like relevant, that other students will be using. Something we see some of these like become things that happen on campus, which is awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think we're off to see another interview in the field, so let's toss it over to them.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Doug. All right, so we are here with Isaac, Alex, and Kit, and they're going to share their awesome project with us. So, Isaac, tell me a little bit. What is your project name, and what does it do? What is your awesome project?
All right, our project is called REC, which is Augmented Reality and Facial Recognition. And what it does is it looks up your face in the Harvard College Facebook database, and
Very cool.
If you're a match, then it will show you that you are a match on this thing. So here's
All right, can we get a live demo?
I think it goes better when we show it. So it finds Alex's face and then tells you that it's Alex Wolf, a freshman in Thayer.
Even tells you where he lives.
It tells you where he lives. Well, he uploaded that to the database. So.
Okay.
And if we really wanted to, we could also get their phone number, their email, and a bunch of other really scary information.
Oh, that's kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
Are you scared of using your own app on yourself?
I'm terrified.
Oh, okay, good. Takes a nervous look to the side. All right, Kit. So you have a role in this, I'd assume, right? You're hanging out here.
Yeah.
What did you build in this? What was your role?
So my role was basically to access the database and get all the images down.
Very nice.
And associate them with the information. So all the name and the year and the house. And I also could include, as Alex said, like email
Some extra
and
details about Alex and stuff. Okay.
And phone number. So there's a lot of information available out there in the
All right, that's a little terrifying. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little scared. Thank you guys so much for sharing, and back to Doug.
All right, thank you.
A little bit of a mic malfunction for a second there, so just bear with us for just a moment as we figure it out. But Aaron's hanging out just over there. But that was really cool, like augmented reality. We don't talk about that at all in the course, actually. So that's another one of the more amazing things that we see students do, is not only do they take the lessons that we teach them in the class, like doing things with like maps or what have you, but then they just go out and do things that are totally different than that.
And it sounded like it was really reliable too from the demo. It seemed to work immediately, which is really cool that it was that responsive.
You've got like facial recognition, it's telling you who it is. Like that's
kind of creepy.
It's kind of creepy, but it's kind of cool. I mean, this was technology that like Facebook was working on. Like when you think about like how they do auto tagging of pictures and stuff like.
And there must not be a whole lot of resources because it's such a new field.
Yeah, and don't forget, these are students who are coming into this class. This is their first course, and they're getting like 13 weeks of
Yeah.
yeah, it's just amazing to see things like that. Again, apologies if you're watching about the static that we have in the field. Whenever we go out to the field, it's great to see projects there. There's a lot of energy out in the field like that. But we have wires, and there's about 1,000 people I think probably behind us right now. So it's going to happen that we'll get a little bit of static. All right, so I think we're good. So let's see who we got over there. We have Menica over the interview station.
Yeah, let's toss it over to them.
Let's take a look.
Thanks, Doug. I'm here with Philip and Diana, and why don't we just get straight to it? Do you guys want to tell me about your project?
Yes, definitely. So we implemented Simp Lending. It's a peer-to-peer lending platform in South Africa where people can connect each other. You can either register as borrower or lender, and then you can find each other. So for example, let's log in as a lender. And then you see all projects that current borrowers have online. So it's just like for connecting borrowers and lenders. So let's say you want to invest in project with arts. Let's take arts.
Cool.
Then you can see the project and you can also view it to get more information. So for example, here we have Tiana. Tiana needs $100 for 2 years. You can also directly shoot an email. But what if you say you don't want to choose her based on her use case, but based on her location? He's like, I'm as a lender, I'm certainly attached to one region in South Africa. Let's say I want to invest in projects in Western Cape area. Here's Camilla. And Camilla has a project about nature. She needs money for that, so maybe we invest in her. So you can filter them on use case or nature. And you can also see your own profile. So that's me, my Facebook picture. Currently, I want to invest in borrowers that empower women, and before I invested in townships and into agriculture.
Cool. So how did I think tech being used for social good is awesome. How did you come up with the idea for this project?
So during the semester, I also take SOC World 47, which is the course about entrepreneurship in developing countries. And like for the last 4 months, we worked on a business plan for a peer-to-peer lending platform. Because we think lack of access to capital is such a big issue in South Africa, and people need money to pay for the basic needs. And so we thought we help the people in the villages in South Africa, and we also wanted to implement it. That's how we came up with it.
And, what was your favorite part of the project, or the whole process, I should say?
I think seeing the progress. Like, we knew we had this idea. First we wanted to implement an iOS app, and we really struggled with how to do that, and we watched a lot of tutorials, and we say, okay, we can never do that. And then we puzzled together how we could bring this to life, and then seeing that it's actually worked out, it was just a great feeling. It's our baby now, I guess. A bit
Yeah, it looks beautiful also. How did you guys, can I go back to the homepage? Yeah. How did you guys get all of this nice...
the start page where you can log in?
Yeah, the start page, yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get all the nice design? Who was that? Was that kind of both?
That was Diana.
Cool, so you worked more on the back end then?
Yeah, we were back end, front end developers, I guess.
And were you guys at the hackathon?
Yes, that was very helpful.
Were you there until 4 a.m.? Did you go to IHOP?
3:30, so I guess we missed it. Oh man. No, but that was good, yeah.
And what has been your favorite part of CS50? I guess looking back, how was the class?
I think just how much, that's what Diana also said, how we developed. At the beginning, in the first lecture, I just sat there, what am I doing here? You didn't understand a lot, what is this code? Yeah. And now we implemented this website, after 4 months, it's just crazy.
And also I feel like CS50 is not just a subject, it's like a lifestyle. I mean, it's just the whole spirit, oh yeah, I know you from office hours, and yeah, also this cool shirt, you're TF, right? And then it's just, I like the whole atmosphere. Yeah.
Cool, that's awesome. Yeah, so you guys thinking about making any more projects in the future, or doing anything with this one? Or?
Yes, definitely. So currently I'm a visiting student here for 1 year, but I talked to my TF, and I'm now thinking to apply for a master in computer science in London at UCL, because I think it's so cool.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I also definitely want to continue, and I hope I'll match with business and tech. It would be very cool.
Yeah. Nice. So did you guys get any outside advice on this project? I know you're focusing on South Africa specifically, and it looked like you applied some of the course concepts, but for more of the conceptual, are the cases real, or are those ones made up, or when you're filtering for them?
So from the business plan perspective, we had a lot of outside input. We talked to people who do community work in villages in South Africa. Cool. We talked to the head of a microfinance fund in South Africa. Also my TF and the SOC World course is from South Africa. Okay. So there we got a lot of input, what we want to create.
Awesome.
On the technical side, we had a lot of help from our TFs.
Cool. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Back to you, Doug.
That was really cool.
Yeah, so it brought me to like think about Kickstarter a little bit and investing in different companies, which is really cool. But it also was a really great integration of like how we use collaboration in the course and sort of breaking things up.
Yeah. You know, we really don't get into other like CS50 IDE, which is the platform that most students use in the course. It does have built-in collaboration features, but code sharing is a little different than just like workspace sharing. And so that's often a hurdle that students also have to overcome when they're working in projects in pairs, like those two were.
Yeah, and if you notice, they were talking about how one of them was doing front end and the other was doing back end, and that's typically a clean way to sort of break things up.
Yeah.
They also were talking about how they only made it to 3 a.m. at the hackathon.
I know, so I remember seeing them at the hackathon. I remember seeing them getting a little tired.
Yeah.
We gotta stay awake the whole time, and it's tough. So I don't blame them. But no, the hackathon. So we had the hackathon for students. It was a week ago Thursday. So for students to finish or start their final projects, but they were definitely working hard on those projects. So, but yeah, so that was a lot of fun. It was cool to see, hear a little bit about how they collaborated to
and
build
see the
that.
progress from then to now.
Big change over just even 8 days.
Yeah. All right, so looks like we have another interview in the field, so let's turn to them.
Awesome, thank you very much, Doug. So we are back here with Thunderwear. It's personally my favorite project name so far. And we're here with Sengo, Amy, and Jess. Say hi, guys. All right, so Amy, what does Thunderwear do?
Right, so our Thunderwear is basically like a weather app, but instead we add a lot of functionality in regards to weather, or in our clothing items.
Very cool.
So one of the biggest problems for me personally is like the weather is very hot in the morning or very cold at night, and that change makes me unsure what to wear. So Thunderwear allows you to import your location, and it'll give you clothing items
Really?
suggestions.
Any location?
Any location in the world.
Very, very cool. I heard, Sengo, you're a pretty stylish guy. Did you use this app to wake up this morning? Was that like you got up and you're like, all right, I got to figure out through Thunderwear what I'm wearing today? Is that what chose your outfit today?
Honestly, actually, I was planning on it, but I had to actually run out and I didn't actually have my computer set up. But I was thinking about it. If I had it up, I would have done it.
All right, so while we're ending, can I see a live demo of how this works, how Thunderwear goes? Jess, if you wouldn't mind walking us through this?
Let's say for some reason you're stuck in the Amazon jungle and you don't know what to wear.
Wow, you really meant everywhere. All right.
So
Okay, it's loading and it's loading. We're going. We're gonna be thunderously underworn. I don't know how that works. And while we're waiting on that for load, what was your guys' hardest challenge while you were going through this? Live demos never go well, by the way, just so you know.
Okay.
Hardest challenge while you guys were building it?
Oh, the hardest challenge is we're all pretty new to coding, either less comfortable
Makes
or
sense.
in between, and this is also another step up because it's an iPhone app and it's a totally different language than what we learned in CS50.
Wow.
So part of the process of creating this app was learning the language, but also like developing the functions and trying to the design as well.
So you learned all of Swift from scratch?
Essentially, yes.
That's horrible. I'm so sorry. Congratulations, though. That's really awesome. How's that live demo going? They never work well, just so you know. It'll always go poorly.
Here we go.
Yeah,
Oh, very cool.
So,
All right.
for example, like today in Cambridge,
And then we're going to wrap up.
Today in Massachusetts, Cambridge, Massachusetts.
It works
No,
until you
let's
try and show
Amazon
us.
River, Amazon jungle. So I'm trying the Amazon jungle. Why does it not work when I?
That's okay. It works. We believe you. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. And thank you very much.
Thanks, Nick. So that has to be the best project name.
That is currently leading the pack of the funniest project names that we've got today. Students are very creative. I saw them coming in last night as the students were turning them in, and some of them were pretty punny. You'd be a fan. I'm sure we'll see a few more of them as we go.
Yeah.
They were talking about like what's the hardest thing as they're wrapping up their project.
Yeah, and I mean, just in terms of all of the projects as a whole, we see this common theme of like students learning things that we never taught in CS50, and that's almost one of the coolest things to see in the fair is the students learning outside of the class.
Yeah, it's the most impressive thing I think that I see in the projects too is just how much students will just go beyond the scope of what we teach. It's really mind-boggling. Like when I've been doing this for 11 years, and when we started, like it was web apps, and now it's like mobile apps, and we have the AR thing, and we have the GitHub collaboration, like things we don't teach. It's really just super impressive. Speaking of impressive, I'm sure we have another impressive project to take a look at over at the interview station now. I believe this project is called Represent Me, so let's take a look and see what Arnav has and the students to show us.
Welcome back. I'm here now with one of my own students, Ross Simmons, here to talk about his final project titled Represent Me. Welcome, Ross.
Hello, Arnav.
If you want to introduce yourselves to our audience, tell them more about your final project.
Hi, I'm Ross Simmons. I'm a freshman living in Matthews. Hi, I'm Ross Simmons. I'm a freshman living in Matthews. And I'm planning to study physics, and I've taken CS50. I've made this final project called Represent Me that does a few things. The first thing it does, if you click on members of the House, up here, it'll show you a list of all 435 members of the House of Representatives with their contact information.
Awesome.
But if 435 is overwhelming, you can narrow it down to the members from any single state. For instance, I'm from Missouri, so if I type in MO, the two-letter state abbreviation from Missouri, I find the names and contact information of the 8 members of the House from Missouri. But if you want to narrow it down by a member's name, say you wanted to find the contact information for Nancy Pelosi, you can type in Nancy Pelosi's name, and there she is, Democrat of the California 12th, with her contact information. Similar thing going on under members of the Senate with all 100 there. Narrow it down by state, and you can narrow it down by name. Here's Ron Johnson of Wisconsin's contact information. The most interesting thing, however, in this website is going on under search bills.
All right.
You can search bills by their titles or by their contents. For instance, if you wanted to see information on the Small Business Tax Cut Act, which was a bill in Congress, it'll search it on up. And here it is, a Small Business Tax Cut Act, H.R. 9. If you click on this, it'll take you to the congress.gov page for the Small Business Tax Cut Act. It was introduced in 2012. And here are all the votes on it. It was passed by the House. And
if I click on one of these, yes.
Yeah, if you click on more info here, it'll go over to more specific vote information, the name of the bill, the latest action. It was referred to a Senate committee, but it went nowhere in the Senate. Passed by the House with 18 yeses from Democrats. Here are all the party totals. And here are a list of all the yeses, all the noes.
What if I want to look at the votes of representatives from the state of Missouri, for instance?
Well, if you want to narrow it down by state, we can do the same thing that we did over in the others. Here are how the members from Missouri voted. Todd Akin and Joanne Emerson are no longer in the House of Representatives, but they did vote yes on this particular bill. And here are the no votes from Missouri. And if you wanted to see how Nancy Pelosi voted, you can find how Nancy Pelosi voted. Nancy Pelosi voted no.
Awesome.
Along with her contact information. So,
Ross, I think this is a fantastic project with so many applications to inform voters and inform the citizenry in general. What motivated you to build this website?
So here at Harvard a few weeks ago, a former senator from Missouri named Jim Talent was coming by. We have to support our fellow Missourians, but I needed to know if I had to dislike him or not. I needed to find out what his position was on DOMA specifically, the Defense of Marriage Act. So I had to dig around in the records of the clerk of the House of Representatives, find what the bill number was, scroll through all 435 names until I found Talent, and I wanted to make it easier to find how one specific person voted on a specific piece of legislation. So that was how I got some of the ideas, but I also wanted the contact information for that person, so if you wanted to tell them how badly you felt about that vote, you could go to their website or write a letter to their office or call them on their phone. So this website is an implementation of being able to find out how specific members voted on specific bills, and also to be able to find members from your state or the contact information for your own member.
That is amazing, Ross. It's been a joy having you in my section, having you in CS50. How's your experience in CS50 been so far?
My experience in CS50 has been phenomenal. I did not know if I wanted to take it when I first came in. I was a little on the fence, but after the first lecture and the first few sections, I decided to stick around, and while the work was difficult, it was definitely worth it. I would not have been able to do this just a few weeks ago that I started CS50, so it's been a very valuable experience.
Thank you so much, Ross. It's been a pleasure having you, and thank you for sharing your project with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, Arnav.
That was an awesome story to hear at the very end there. And I gotta say, now that I'm wearing a sweatshirt, his dapperness puts me to shame.
Yeah, he had the bow tie.
Stage, he was so sharp. One thing I gotta say about that is the US government's APIs are not very good. So that project was actually probably a huge amount of work. I suspect that there was a lot of screen scraping in that, which is not, if you don't know what that is, it's a good thing. You don't ever really want to do it. It's pretty tedious stuff. But that was really cool, for better or for worse, politics is always around us, however you think about these things. And that is a really useful tool if you're the kind of person who is motivated to like pursue about these issues. And there's one issue that we do talk about in CS50 is net neutrality. And certainly that's a big buzzy thing right now. And being able to get in touch with representatives is nice. So I really appreciate that student putting together that project for us.
And we're seeing a lot of political themed projects this year, more so than I've seen in the previous years.
That's true. We are seeing definitely more of that this year. So I think we're actually ready to go right back out into the field and see another amazing project. So shall we take a look?
Let's take a look.
Let's do it.
Awesome, thank you very much. All right, so we are here with Matt, Kyle, and Saffron, and their awesome project. It's a little bit Harvard specific, but it's called, what is that, Matt?
Concentration calibration.
Awesome, so you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so this year we three are sophomores, and we were kind of faced with the difficult challenge of choosing a concentration this year.
Oh, relatable.
For a lot of us, it was really painstaking, and like you don't even know where to start sometimes. And too often, I feel like people choose a concentration or department and then are a little too fixated on on choosing classes that sort of fulfill requirements in that concentration. Instead of being exposed to like so many thousands of classes that Harvard has to offer.
So how'd you solve this problem? What is concentration calibration?
So we kind of wanted to flip the idea on its head and instead allow users to be exposed to classes first and then see what departments those fall into.
Awesome, can you walk us through it? And while he's doing that, would you mind telling us what some of the challenges were? Maybe the hardest challenge was while you were doing it?
Yeah, so I think kind of the hardest challenge that we had to tackle when going through our tests was, as the test proceeds through, you choose classes that, you just have a genuine interest in, and then at the end, we kind of assemble all of this data and display an infographic in the form of a pie chart that essentially demonstrates, which concentration is best suited for all of the classes that you chose. So it was really hard implementing this pie chart. I think Saffron could give a little bit more information on that.
So this is your hardest challenge, right?
Yeah, it was basically trying to get like 3 or 4 different languages to talk to each other. I was trying to mix the templating language with JavaScript and then Python and everything. So I had to pass it through a bunch of variables. But
that sounds
anyway,
terrible.
we got it to work. It's fine. I spent like a few.
It looks lovely. It looks like it worked out well.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's just like a cool little graphic that we wanted for it to work out, and we also were kind of trying to figure out whether we wanted an algorithm that like tailored our course selections, like the courses that we generate as the test goes on, to better reflect your preferences. But we ultimately decided that one of the coolest parts of this is the fact that it's randomly generated. Like you're going to discover things that you're literally never going to see, and we don't want to kind of use this test to narrow you down.
Okay, so we're opening everybody's interest up. That's the goal.
And so we just had a kid come by earlier who took the test. He's a government concentrator, and he kind of went through, and at the end it showed an engineering class, and he kind of was so confused as to why an engineering class displayed, but he went through, looked at the description, and I think he's going to take it next fall. So.
Wow, that's really awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for sharing. Awesome project, and we're really glad you shared it with us. Thank you very much.
That was like the opposite of how I colleged.
I think most of us college the opposite way.
Yeah, I would just, here's the concentration I pick, here are the classes I have to take. That is a more refreshing way, and I think a more fulfilling way to go through your college experience.
Yeah, and it definitely opens you up to other possibilities that you may not have considered because you are so focused on one specific field.
I think so too. That was really fun. Yeah. Brought me back to my college days. I'm a little further away from them than you are, though.
All right, well, it looks like we're headed over to the interview station to take a look at a project called AlphaMall. So let's toss it over to them.
Thanks, Doug. So I'm here with Sandip and Dhruv, and so let's just jump right into it. You guys want to tell me about your project today?
Yeah, sure. So we developed an email analytics tool, and so as college students, we have a lot of emails in our inboxes, so we're very curious to see if we can learn a little more about what's actually in our inbox. So I'll let Dhruv talk about our program.
So basically what we did is we had a bunch of different graphs that display statistics about your inboxes. So here the first graph is if your inbox follows the 80-20 rule. Currently my inbox is only 46% occupied with the top 20% of senders. And then speaking of the top 20% of senders, these are the people that have sent me the most emails recently, and as a percent of my total inbox, and these are the number of emails that they've actually sent me. So as you can see, we have about 6 different senders that are in my top 20%.
And then finally at the bottom of the page, we have an average size of email, the person who sent me the most emails, and the total emails that have been analyzed. So yeah.
Cool, and what was the motivation to do this? You guys signed up for too many clubs at the activities fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're on so many mailing lists and we have so many different courses and assignments going on. We really want to keep track of what's actually in our inbox. So this is a good starting point for that, and we can build out more features going into the future.
Cool.
Yep.
And then what APIs did you guys use for this?
Yeah, so we use the Gmail API primarily to let people log into their Gmail account, and then the Gmail API let us just get a list of all the messages that are currently in the inbox, and we can cycle through them and display the statistics.
Awesome. And what have you guys liked about CS50 so far? Let me ask you.
Yeah, I mean, this has been we've learned so much in this class, a lot of different languages, a lot of cool tools. So I think it's really been a fun experience being in this kind of environment, and the class has been really hype.
Cool, and you guys did this in Python, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Python.
Okay, cool. And what about you, Drew? What did you like about
I think my favorite part was the CS50 hackathon, just like 12 hours of straight coding throughout. And then the IHOP breakfast in the morning was really enjoyable, just like kind of relaxing. Like, okay, we have some progress made now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you feeling that happy during the moment as well, or is this like retroactively?
Definitely retroactively. So, yeah.
Cool, that's awesome. So do you guys think that like after this project you'll go on to do more CS things, or what are you guys thinking?
I probably will continue with CS. It's been a really good experience.
Cool.
Probably can take 51 next semester, continue building up those skills.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I think I'm going to look into CS51 and maybe something next year and take a break next semester. But yeah.
Cool, that's awesome. And let's see. So can anybody log on to this? I know the Wi-Fi is a little slow.
Yeah, so the Wi-Fi is a little slow, but basically, I guess, yeah, we can try. So if you click the login button, it prompts you to the authentication flow. And since I'm only logged into one Gmail account right now, it already logged me in. And that's the same college email, but generally, if you have more inboxes, we can have more people log in. And then it takes a little bit of time to run because the Wi-Fi is slow. But it'll just display the same statistics as before.
So what would you say is the most difficult part of doing this? Was it like getting used to the API, or?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Gmail API, we didn't really have as much experience using APIs, so we had to look at how to authenticate somebody, and there's obviously a sequence of method calls that you have to do to get to the authentication page. Okay. So that was probably the biggest challenge, was getting it configured. And then once we were there, we were able to just build out features, which is more of a mechanical process.
Okay, cool. And how'd you guys divide up the work, or did you kind of both do it both?
We kind of just worked together the entire time, just debugging each other's code and making sure we knew exactly what we were doing. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And how are you guys closer after this experience of staying up 12 hours?
Yeah.
The bromance has developed.
We went to the CS50 hackathon, then we went to the Yale hackathon. So that was about 50 hours of coding in about 4 days. So yeah, we spent a lot of time coding.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's been a good time.
Cool. What about your favorite P sets so far? Or you hated all the P sets?
No,
You're looking forward to the project.
I thought the dictionary P set was really cool, and I also really liked the similarities P set, where we compared different messages in code. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like the mashup piece set a lot. We were able to integrate a lot of stuff. Although it was really,
I didn't like that one. I did that one.
It was really frustrating, but once we got to work, it was cool to be able to see different things interacting with each other.
Oh, yeah, we worked on that piece set together too.
We did, yeah.
Oh no, too much time. All right, well, glad to see your friendship is still intact.
Yep.
And thank you guys so much. Back to you, Doug.
Yep.
AlphaMall.
All right, sorry that we accidentally called that project AlphaMall. It was AlphaMale.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's a project that I could actually make some pretty good use of.
I feel like we both have a lot of emails coming in, all the time.
I have to go on just mass unsubscribe sprees all the time. It'd be nice to know at least before I just get rid of it entirely.
What's actually useful.
What was actually useful. All right, let's get right back out into the field. We have another project that we wanted to take a look at. I believe it's called LiveSmart. So let's take a look out in the field at LiveSmart.
So we're here with Sewon and her project. It's called LiveSmart. And Sewon, why don't you tell us a little bit about what LiveSmart is? I'll hold it for you, don't worry.
So our web app is basically a program that helps you live a more self-aware life. So if you look at my website right here, so you put in a specific activity. So that can be anything from a class name like CS50 or exercise or sleep. And you put in the number of hours that you spent on that activity today. And so, for instance, we can put in 4 hours on CS50. And at the end of the day, kind of on self-reflecting note, If you thought that it was the right amount of time spent, then you check this box, and you press submit, and then at the end of the day, you are able to press end of day, and the Wi-Fi is a little slow right now because we have a lot of people here.
That's
But
fair.
anyway, so you put that in, and what the app will do is it generates a chart over a lot of different days that you use the app, and it'll tell you the number of hours spent on that activity over the percentage of times you were satisfied. And it basically gives you the optimal number of hours that you should spend on that specific activity. So for instance, CS50, like I was the happiest spending 5 hours. Oh, and the Wi-Fi cut out. But
Live demos always break, don't worry.
yeah, but anyway, so the app is basically just intended to help you live a more self-reflective life, because a lot of times you don't actually know how an activity made you feel and whether 3 or 4 hours or 5 hours was the best amount of time for you to spend.
Awesome. That seems pretty useful in the college environment where everyone forgets what they're doing.
Yeah, my partner and I really thought about that when we were thinking about the app from the beginning. Just, you know, a lot of kids don't know how many hours to really spend on these classes or how many hours to really sleep, so yeah.
If they sleep,
Yeah.
right? All right, so what was one of the biggest challenges you faced while you were building this? It looks really cool, you got a lot of data analysis going on, when it works.
Yeah.
So
When the
what was
Wi-Fi
the biggest
isn't
challenge you
broken.
had?
Yeah, so we used something called Firebase, which is a way that we stored our data. And in CS50, like the class, we only use SQL, and so that was the only one that we were really taught or familiar with. So having to learn the new API and like understand how it really worked, I think that was the most challenging part, because we had to learn everything before we could actually like code or really make use of this really cool, dynamic, real-time database.
Awesome, very nice. Well, thank you very much, Sewon. Thanks for sharing your project. And back to Doug.
You know, Nick, I can relate to being caught off guard in last year's live show. This is what happens, folks, when we're live for a couple of hours. So I can commiserate, and thanks for understanding. That's going to happen sometimes. We got another project lined up for you at the interview station. We're going to take a look at it. I believe it's called Got Hurt, and we have Arnav over there to give us a quick tour.
Welcome back. I'm here with my friend Frankie, who's here to share his final project called Got Hurt.
Yeah.
Frankie, if you want to introduce yourself to our audiences, tell them more about your final project.
All right, so my name is Frankie Matos. My final project is called Got Hurt. It's a hospital searching website, so you can look up different hospitals and stuff in the area. So let's log in. At the top right corner, you can log in to your account. And from there, Arnav, let's choose where we go.
Let's go to Find Hospital.
All right, so our Find Hospital function, you have to type in a city and a state you'd like to look up. Where would you like to go?
Let's do Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Tulsa, all right, Tulsa it is. So we type in Tulsa and you can abbreviate the Oklahoma to OK. And now it'll shoot you to hospitals in that area. So you can look up and you'll see that there is an Oklahoma Surgical Hospital, there is a Tulsa Spine and Specialty Hospital. But from there, what? Like, you don't know anything about these hospitals. You want to look something else up, right?
Yes.
You want to learn more about it. So let's choose St. Francis Hospital. Let's go to reviews. This reviews tab is a Yelp page. So when you type in the hospital and the city, it'll shoot out a Yelp page for this hospital. So let's do St. Francis Hospital, which is in Tulsa.
Yep.
And it'll shoot you out to the St. Francis Hospital Yelp page. And now here you can read everything that people have said previously. The staff and doctors went out of their way to diagnose me and keep me comfortable. That sounds great, right? Well, what about this? You want to have your own diary, right? You want to know what people are saying. So you can go into an input commentary tab and you can say, St. Francis Hospital is very kind. And from there, it'll show you all the previous comments that you've ever made on this website, which is really cool, right?
Sweet.
Right? But what happens when you forget which hospital you just typed in? Like, you want to go back to that Yelp review for that hospital. Because, like, sometimes, I know Boston Children's Hospital, but, like, Tulsa, I have no idea where Tulsa is. So you go back to your Yelp search history, and it'll shoot you out all the hospitals that you just searched in on Yelp. So now, oh, there's St. Francis Hospital. You can go back into Yelp, retype St. Francis Hospital in Tulsa, it'll shoot you back out to your original project.
Frankie, I love your final project. I think it's really useful. So, you know, can you tell me more about how you went about implementing it, if you used any external APIs, any tools you found useful that CS50 provided you?
Yeah, so This project, it really inspired me to find hospitals because it's just like a simple thing that there aren't too many websites out there for. Like, yeah, you can go on Google Maps and type in hospitals near me, but you can't put commentary there. Like, let's say you found Boston Children's Hospital and you wanted to check out more about Boston Children's Hospital, you also have to type in Yelp on the Google tab and everything. So it's just, this all condensed it into one website so that you can use it. So on our very first page of Find Hospital, where we can go to Boston MA. This page right here uses the Google API, and it's more of just like a URL that you take the variables of city and state and shoot them into that URL, and Google will then spit out the best thing that they can find, which in this case is hospitals in Boston. But you can also go to hospitals anywhere because this is a Google function, so Google tries its best to match it. So we can go to New Delhi, India, and it'll also come out with hospitals that are in New Delhi.
Okay.
So Google's very nice. It's a very nice function.
What happens if I click on one of these links?
So if you click on one of these links, it'll make the name larger for that hospital.
Okay.
But if you click into it, then you'll go to the Google website.
And I can see I can also get directions, save it to my. Okay.
Yeah.
This seems really useful. Awesome.
And then from there, for reviews, you need to be very specific with this. Yelp is very nice that you can just type in, again, some variables into a URL, but if they're not specific to a hospital that Yelp already knows, then it'll shoot out an error for a page.
Okay, awesome. This is an amazing final project, Frankie. It's been amazing having you in the course. Tell me about your experience in CS50. I mean, as you can see, the fair is full of a lot of energy. How's your experience personally been in this course?
My experience in this course has been awesome. Like, taking all of this code that we've been like doing little by little during the year and just like putting it all together, it was so cool just like going back to CS50 Finance and checking out like, whoa, we did this function like 3 or 4 times in our project. That's so cool. Or going back to like the beginning of the year and thinking about like Mario and stuff like that, like having to like take variables and input them somewhere else and stuff like that. It was so awesome just to see it all come together and just be able to say, wow, like this was CS50. And it's just so cool.
Do you plan to take more CS courses? Is it like push you to maybe major in CS or do a secondary, something like that?
So I'm an applied math major, so I definitely hope to take at least another CS course while I'm here. It'd be awesome.
Awesome. Do you have any advice for people taking CS50? People who wonder, if they're less comfortable, if they really should take the course?
So I myself am less comfortable. I did not know any code before coming into this, and I know tons of code now to make a website. So it definitely helps you and teaches you how to do these things. So I definitely recommend taking this course.
Thank you, Frankie. Thank you.
Thank you, Arnav.
Thank you.
We are joined at the interview station by a special guest. Hello.
How's it going,
Introduce
Doug?
yourself.
Yeah. My name is Spencer DeBerry. I teach computer science. I teach CS50 at Belmont Hill School locally. I've been teaching it for this my first year teaching at Belmont Hill, but I taught CS50 as an AP class last year in my hometown of Las Vegas as well. And I actually took CS50 myself 2 years ago, so it takes me back a bit being in here.
And did you take it through the extension school or did you take it through edX?
Yeah, I took it through the extension school.
Okay.
So yeah, when I got to come out here for the CS50 variant, it's one of my most powerful memories of the whole course, is coming out here and showing off my project.
And what made you want to teach CS50? Because it is kind of a big monster of a course to teach.
I mean, I just found the class to be so galvanizing and makes you really feel like you can be a programmer and make you feel like this is something that's obtainable. And a field that just needs that, because a lot of times students have this like matrix kind of mentality, like CS is just looking at a screen with like these numbers coming down, and it just helps to have a class that empowers them and lets them see that this is something you can do.
So just a quick little bit of background. So Spencer teaches CS50 AP. CS50 AP is our high school adaptation of the CS50 course. It's pretty much curricularly identical to what the students who just completed their final projects had just gone through. It's just sort of organized in a different way to sort of fit into a high school schedule over the course of about 9 months as opposed to the 3 months that we have for students to go from 0 to 60. as they've done here. Now, you're teaching CS50 AP now in Belmont. Where are your students at in the course?
So a few weeks ago, they finished up, if familiar with this semester, music. We also played around with two-dimensional arrays using an older piece set called 15 after that. And now we started looking at sorting algorithms using bubble sort, merge sort, and such like that. Yeah.
So tell us, so obviously you took the class 2 years ago, but you were actually among one of the first people to attend our CS50 AP workshops.
Yes, back in March of last year, 2016. It was a trip. That year, I believe we met in the education building, and it was a very powerful workshop. Again, it was awesome to be around a bunch of teachers excited to try a new curriculum and to bring the CS50 curriculum to their high schools. And oddly enough, one of my coworkers actually taught CS50 at the same school I teach at. He taught it last year, and he went to the same workshop I did, so it's a small world.
It is a small
even though I flew out from Las Vegas.
Yeah,
So
it's kind of come full circle for you, like starting here, and now you're teaching out here.
Because you're not actually only teaching CS50 AP, you're also teaching one of our classes, the Extension School this semester.
Exactly.
You'll be teaching CS50 next semester as well.
Same class I took. It's a trip. Yeah. It's a small world.
Interesting to be on the other side. Now, and you're not here alone today.
No, I brought
Who else
my
is out
class.
there?
So I brought 20 students from Belmont Hill. They came out here. They're circling around, looking at projects, trying to get their
See a
stickers.
jacket over there behind me.
Yeah, yep, that's one. Oh, that Ugo right there. He was so excited to meet David earlier. I got to put him on blast for that. He was way too hyped. It's cute, but no, they're excited to be here. They're happy to see some projects, and they were. Most of my students were like, "Man, I did not realize it was going to be this intense, like this lit." So to speak.
Yeah, and it's a great way to get them pumped. For their own projects at the end of the course.
Absolutely.
It really is, and it's just a great, brings a great energy. You know, we've the last several years opened this event up to the entire community, really, to have not only Harvard students, the students in the class, their parents, their friends, but also those local middle schools. Cambridge Range is right around the corner. Belmont Hill is just down the road. It brings such a great energy, especially for students who are taking CS50 AP, to see like, oh wow, like these students were in exactly the same spot, and this is what they did. Like, I got to top this. Because they still have a few more months to do it.
No, they do, and they actually ran into a former alum's project. They ran into it, and they started like totally going on to it and be like, well, we can do better than this. They started like totally bagging us.
That's awesome. Well, any advice for any students who might be watching this, considering taking CS50 AP at their high school or CS50 at edX?
Totally just do it. Like, it's such an empowering course. It can be a grind, and like anyone that I've known who's taken it will say the same thing. It can be insanely difficult. You can have all-nighters, I guarantee you. But at the end of the day, you'll feel so proud that you did it. You'll feel so accomplished. You'll feel so empowered that you did this course and that you have done something that can really make something and a difference in the world.
And before I pass things back out into the field, do you mind showing off your CS50
Oh yeah,
AP?
yeah. We made our own little custom
Belmont
shirt
Hill CS50
Belmont Hill.
AP T-shirts.
Gotta make custom shirts. That's how you do it.
Way to go, way to represent. Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Doug.
Really appreciate having you here. We're going to take a look at a project out in the field called Blockchain Radio. I don't know that much about it. Blockchain makes me think it might have something to do with Bitcoin. That's my guess. So let's take a look and see if I'm right.
Awesome, and thank you, Doug. All right, so we're here with Jacob and the Blockchain Radio. So Jacob, tell us a little bit about how this Blockchain Radio works. What is it?
Hey, so essentially, essentially what I'm doing is I'm taking all the Bitcoin transactions that are happening right now in real time, and I'm representing them with audio. So I scale the pitch, basically the lower the transaction value that just happened on the Bitcoin network, the lower the pitch, the higher the value, the higher the pitch.
That's awesome. Can we see it work a little bit?
Yeah.
Does it play sound that I can go for?
Yes, it does. You can try
I don't know. We'll see if we can hear it. If we can't, that's okay. We'll pretend that actually caused some sound. Hopefully it did. So does it sound like music when you can hear it? Or is
yeah,
it
so the thing is I have no control over it because it all depends on the transactions. But for the most part, I've tweaked it enough. One of the biggest challenges was tweaking it so that it does sound like music. So I think for the most part it does, depending on what's actually happening in the network right now and how fast it's happening and such.
Okay, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
As kind of a wrap-up question, what was the biggest challenge you faced while you were building this?
Yeah, so the main challenge was figuring out how to scale it, like the appropriate formula to scale it, because originally the thing is you had a lot of tiny transactions with people sending like 0.1 Bitcoin and a bunch of giant ones with people sending like 10,000. So you will get a ton of distorted audio, which I don't want. So eventually I ended up using a logarithmic scale instead. So I take the log of it and then put it in a category and select a note based on that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Jacob. I really appreciate it. Project's super cool. Thank you for sharing. And we're back to Doug and Aaron.
I called it. I called it. It's too bad that we can't really, there's so much noise here. It's a very loud event, so it's a little tough to hear with the audio-based projects. But that sounded like it was some pretty interesting stuff, pulling all that information
Yeah,
in.
Bitcoin's kind of like a new thing, or not a new thing, but
it's certainly in the news this week for sure. It's been very popular. And that's, Spencer actually mentioned this when he was interviewing us a second ago. We introduced a new concept this year called Music, where students were learning how to manipulate, create MIDI files or WAV files based on numbers, and he was using the amount of Bitcoins being bought and sold to make that calculation, determine the tones.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
And it's just a new sort of aspect that you can add to your piece. It just like gives it one more sense that you can interact with it on another level.
You know, I will never put it past students to do very, very creative stuff that tying two things together that you just never expect.
Yeah, I mean, this fair's been going on for what, 10 years, and we've never seen like the same thing.
Never seen the same thing twice. So over at the interview station, we have a project called What's for Dinner?
I've been asking myself that question all day. Let's toss it over to them.
Hi, I'm Caroline. I'm a junior and I'm a teaching fellow.
I'm Kyle. I'm a freshman and I'm a student in CS50.
Kyle, do you want to walk us through your project?
All right, yeah, so this is What's for Dinner. It's great for saving money, reducing food waste, and just like general convenience. And it's a pretty simple concept. So basically you input ingredients that you have on hand, like for example, like do you have any ingredient like
oranges?
Oranges. Or like, like chicken.
Sugar. Sounds good.
All right. And it should, and it gives you some recipes that you can make with those. And if you click on the recipe, it renders another template with all of the information about the recipe and how to make it. And if you really want to see all of the information that's available on the original website where it's sourced from, you go to the BBC. All of these websites are sourced from BBC, but you can click that link. And that's pretty much it. And clicking back to the, gets you back to the main part.
Cool. So how do you get all of the ingredients from BBC onto your website?
So one of the first things that I did actually for the website was to scrape all of the, use a scraper and this function called Beautiful Soup to scrape all of the information from the BBC website into a database, a SQLite database. And then from there I run queries using helper functions and stuff to find the best matches.
What was the hardest part in building this website?
Probably just like figuring out how exactly everything works together. Like there's a lot of very small things that you wouldn't think would be like that difficult. Like just like this button.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would be that difficult, but like figuring out how to do it took some time just because like you have to put script into the JavaScript into the HTML tables and stuff, or into the HTML templates and stuff, which I had never done before. But once I figured that out, it was pretty self-explanatory, I guess.
So there's functionality in here that lets you determine the percentage of what ingredients you have per recipe. How is that calculated?
So that takes the number of ingredients in the recipe. So the first thing, when all of the ingredients are fed in, it makes a big list of all of the recipes that contain those ingredients, and then for each recipe, it finds the number of ingredients in that recipe, and using that information, it finds the fraction of the number of ingredients stated and the number of ingredients in the recipe to find how plausible it would be for you to make that recipe with the ingredients you have on hand.
Cool. What was the hardest part in building this whole thing?
I'd say, like I said, a lot of like the
web scraping.
The web scraping was very. It was just like a new skill that I hadn't learned or anything, and just once I kind of got the hang of it, it was a lot easier. The scraping the initial data was pretty difficult because it was you had to kind of navigate through the BBC site within the Python code to scrape it, which required you to like really think about how all of the parts fit together. But yeah, that was.
Okay. How has this website maybe changed your perspective of computer science or taking CS50 and computer science altogether?
Honestly, like it was like really interesting, like just to be able to see all of the stuff I could do with it. Like for example, the scraping was a new it was just a new functionality that I realized I could do with computer science, and like kind of getting exposed to how powerful just even a very basic knowledge of computer science actually is in terms of things that you can do. And also I noticed that just taking CS50 in general, I noticed that I enjoyed doing the work more than I enjoyed doing it for any of my other classes, which really made me realize hey, maybe I should be taking CS as a concentration. So I'll definitely be considering that. So.
Love to hear it. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, well, all these food projects, they make me really hungry. If you're just joining us at the CS50 live show, we're about 1 hour in. We're about an hour and a half through our 10th annual CS50 fair. So far, it's been a lot of energy here today.
Yeah, running swimmingly. We got some blue lights up above, so it kind of feels like an ocean down here.
Oh, you got a pun in there. Yeah. If you have a chance when we do passes through the scenery, we've really changed things up this year. We've got a lot of cool lighting stuff going on, tied to the music, really trying to bring the energy level up. I just want to talk a little bit about what students do when they're turning in the Founder project. So they were turning them in yesterday. They turned in not only a bunch of code, but also instructions from staff on how to run their projects, as well as instructions from staff on why they designed things the way that they did. And finally, the last thing that they turn in are small videos that demonstrate the projects themselves.
And I think those are my favorite to watch because more often than not, I won't know how to run their code. So I'd rather just watch them demo it for me. I think it gives a really good taste of what their project is like.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, sometimes just configuration stuff can make it tough to get it up and running when you can instead just go with and see what the student did live. It just makes it so much easier to take a look at it. And the reason I'm talking about all this is that we're actually going to show you one of these videos right now. I believe it's called Christmas Piano. So this is a project that a student turned in. They turned in this video with their implementation yesterday. Let's take a look at Christmas Piano.
Hi, my name is Michael Liu. I'm a freshman at Harvard. I live in Strauss, and I plan on concentrating in economy or comp sci. This is my final project for CS50 called Christmas Piano. So you can see we're in the CS50 IDE, and we're going to head over to a terminal window, make sure we're in the correct directory, final proj, and we're going to enter Flask run just like we did in PSET 7 and 8. And we're going to now click on the corresponding link, which will take us to this web page. And you can see that our program is pretty much revolves around creating this virtual keyboard. So the gray letters A, W, S, E, D correspond with the keys on our physical keyboard, A, W, S, E, D. And the C4, C4 sharp are the notes that will be played when we hit those keys. So for example, if I take A, W, S, E, D, it generates the corresponding notes. You can also see we have two drop-down menus. One is to change the type of sound wave. So square outputs a rather different sound than sine. And we have another drop-down menu to change the PDF that is displayed, which is just the sheet music of various Christmas songs. Going back to our code, we have 4 files that are necessary for the program to run. We have our HTML, which is linked to our style sheet and our JavaScript. And that just includes the code for the drop-down menus, a quick script for hiding the JPGs we don't currently want, and a placeholder for the keyboard. We have our styles, which styles everything, obviously, like the background and whatnot. But also we can see that there are 5 graphic components to our keyboard. There is a black key, a white key, the span of the keyboard itself, black key playing, and a white key playing. We have our JavaScript file, which has all the code for the functionality of creating the keyboard itself, as well as outputting the sound using the web audio API. And we have a very quick Flask program in Python that uses render template, just like PSET 7 and 8, to allow us to actually open the program in our browser. Thank you.
Awesome, that was a great video. So, you've been sitting here with me for the last hour, and we haven't even really had a conversation yet,
Yeah, a lot of people don't even know who I am.
So, you're Aaron Carvalho.
Yes, I am.
You and I share many videos together. We do all the Puzzle Day videos.
A lot of puns.
All the pun videos.
Yes.
But you have an interesting backstory on how you got to be involved with CS50 too.
Yeah, so I actually grew up in Hawaii, and it's quite a jump. It's about 12 hours to get out here, so it's a long day of flying.
Also a temperature jump. It's about 29 degrees today in Cambridge.
Yeah, not used to it still, but adjusting. But I actually have a background in education, and I thought that CS50 AP, as we talked about earlier with Spencer, was sort of a great way to tie education to technology and sort of the play that the two have, even in classrooms that don't use technology at all. But that seems to be the more rare case these days.
Yeah, that's a good thing though.
Yeah.
And you're not the first Carvalho to be part of CS50's team.
Yeah, my sister used to work here. She was doing sort of everything at the time because the team was maybe 5 or 6 people. It was a significantly smaller team. It was a significantly smaller course. But we've definitely come a long way from then, and so CS50 runs in the family.
And you helped with CS50 AP after. So that was a project that I started working on when I joined full time, and you've been sort of leading the charge of that for the last year and a half almost now.
Yeah, and it's been a great year and a half. I mean, I feel like I've got to work with so many different AP teachers, and seeing a lot of them here, it's like, oh wow, like you guys are still doing it, and you're so involved still, even after like all of this time. But yeah, I've really enjoyed my time. So.
Well, thank you for drawing the short straw and being with me. Just kidding. Thanks for being with me on this live show. It's a lot of fun to have you as my co-anchor today.
Yeah, no problem.
We're going to head back over to the interview station now. I believe we have a project called #Goals.
Thank you. So we are here with Leah, Anna, and Jenna with #Goals. And as of now, I'm not sure if it's relationship goals or goals in general. We're also here with a very special friend of mine. Her name's Grace, and she's going to be your awesome host for the remainder of the fair. So here you go, Grace, and let's see what #Goals is.
For sure. So can you guys tell us a little bit more about your project?
So our project is a social media goal tracking website where you can add different goals and see your friends' goals, and you can see how well you're doing compared to them in terms of completing them on time.
Awesome.
Can you show us a little bit more about it?
So, first thing you do is you'd log in. So let's say that we have Larry. So you log into his account, and the first thing that you'd see is your news feed. So right now, Larry only has one friend, his name's Mo, and it'll show all of Mo's current goals and how many points he wagered that he would complete his goal. So, another thing you could do is you could go to Profile, which would show all of Larry's current goals and all of the information associated with each goal.
And so are the points, like the higher the number of points, like the more difficult the goal, or like?
So a lot of the website is about keeping yourself accountable as well as your friends. So you want to put the amount of points you think would be for each goal. So if it's something like completing an assignment, maybe 10 points. But if it's something like Mo had where he was proposing to his girlfriend, that's more in the 100 range, I'd say.
Gotcha.
And so after you complete each goal, or you don't, you type it in to this line here. So if you completed it on time and you write yes. Oh, I spelled that one wrong. First you have to spell yes right. If you type it in right though, yeah. So you have to
nice error page.
We have a nice error page here. If you type in yes, let's say, it will update your total points based on the number that you wagered. So since you wagered 20 points there, it's going to update to 25, and then you can see how you're doing compared to everyone else on the site. So if you go to the leaderboard, it will display the top 10 users on the site, and there you are as Larry at 25 points.
Gotcha. And how do you add friends to your?
So there is a friends tab here, and you could type in another friend. You have to know their username. So there's someone on the site named Leah. So if you type in Leah, it will immediately add the friend on your friends page, and then once you go to your newsfeed, you can now see Leah and Leah's goals.
Gotcha. And that's super cool. And what do you think is the hardest part of this project?
I think it was really hard for us to link some of the buttons. So on your profile to add Like, yes, you needed to update the points, you also needed to update this column, and then you also need to update the leaderboard, so just linking all of the different tables together.
Right, because you interact with many different like user accounts and like having to go through that process, I'm sure is going to be a lot of work.
And another thing, so the reason we were inspired by this project is we're all on the tennis team, and so we were looking for a way as a team to be able to track our goals and for our coaches to see how we were doing, and we really wanted to keep each other accountable and keep ourselves accountable. So this website's really good for businesses or teams, so everyone can see each other, and you can follow people without adding them back, so our coaches can view our goals without us seeing their goals, which is kind of cool.
Gotcha, that sounds super awesome.
Cool. All right, so for my last throwback, we'll be going back to Doug and Aaron. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Nick, for doing all those interviews. Grace, welcome back. Welcome out to the floor. We'll look forward to seeing a little bit more from you over the next hour and a half or so. That was a good project. A lot of organization. There was a social aspect to it.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually talked to them at the hackathon.
Did you really?
And it just seemed like they had come so far from then to now, and it seemed like they got a lot of the bugs that they were struggling with all figured out.
It's good to hear. I mean, we'll talk a bit more about the hackathon a little bit later, but it was only 7 days ago. Yeah. So some students, like I said, I joked, but like it does happen that some students will start at the hackathon. Yeah. And even then, they just power through and create these amazing things. Now, it sounds like this group was a little further ahead.
They definitely had most of their project done.
You helped them debug?
Yeah.
So you kind of got a little credit for that one. That's pretty good. All right, so I think we're ready back over at the interview station now.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at a project called Alignment Wrapper. So let's look at that.
Hey everybody, this is Tom Balator here. I'm a TF for CS50, and I'm with my student, one of my favorite students, Neil. He's currently a researcher at Massachusetts General Hospital, and he has really put together an amazing project here. So tell us about the alignment wrapper, Neil.
Right, so as Tom said, I work in research, and so I was interested in doing a project with genomic data. And so when you have genomic data, there's a lot of pre-processing that goes on with it, and my program basically does all that pre-processing at once. So it takes in raw genomic data files, and it aligns them to the genome, and spits out aligned files in different formats, BAM files, SAM files, and bigwig files. The reason for that is when you're doing genomic data analysis, you have, the downstream analysis requires different file types very often. So what you can see here is this is what it looks like when it's running. It takes a long time to run because the alignment just takes a while, but it'll do the alignments. It tells you here some stats as far as what was aligned, how many times they're aligned, so you can have an idea of the quality of the data. And I think the coolest part is the last file format are bigwig files, and those are used for visualization of your data, which is an important step when you're looking at genomic data. Cool. So you can put that data into what's called a genome browser. And so I have this here, and this is what it looks like in a genome browser. And so the file that I used for this example was it was this cell type called B cells, and it was basically looking to see which genes are turned on and which genes are turned off in B cells. So you can see that right here, like this gene here, this MLF2 is clearly on, whereas in B cells, CD4 clearly turned off. So that kind of shows the power of what you can do with the alignment wrapper.
So Neil, you came into this course as one of the less comfortable students, right?
Absolutely.
And you remember we were working on Mario, and you had some issues with do while loops and stuff. We made a lot of fun about that. But I'm so impressed that you're able to come through and do this sort of thing. What's your general feeling of getting out of CS50? Can you believe that you're able to accomplish this?
Yeah, I mean, CS50 is hard, it's a commitment, but the reward at the end it's incredible. It's really, really, very rewarding. You get so much out of it. I started with really no CS experience at all. I came in just blind, and in the end, I came out, being able to do something like this, which is absolutely incredible. I wouldn't imagine that a few months ago.
So the next steps for this, you're going to take it to work?
Yeah, so I can use it right at work. I can, it could be helpful for other researchers. And I think another really cool aspect about it is I created an AMI, so it lives on AWS, Amazon Web Services, because it takes a lot of computing power to do alignments. And there are certain prerequisites as far as the machine you're using to do these alignments. So, if other researchers want to do it, I wanted to make it easy for them. Sure. So I created what's called an AMI, an Amazon Machine Image. And so people it's public, they can go in, take this Amazon machine image and they can use it with the alignment wrapper, so it's just very user-friendly for them, and it can be used, because this could be used, for a lot of researchers.
Well, I enjoyed using it because I have to grade it, and going through this has made it much easier for me. So thank you so much.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
So what was the hardest part of everything for this project?
Probably was actually figuring out, how to do this with where it lives, like AWS or, that was really tough, and trying to figure out the requirements of doing something with alignments, because it takes a lot of data. You have to figure out, make sure you manage your space very well as far as the gigs that you're using. So that was pretty challenging, and the coding was too. Trying to bring together, functionalities of different programs and putting them all in one program was tough too, but it was good.
No, this is probably one of the key things about CS50, that you're able to learn the basics of all these different languages. You can learn the IDE, but then you get to something with your final project where it just doesn't work there. And you have the ability to go beyond that, and do it on your own. And this is something that people will be using at work. So that's totally awesome.
Yeah, CS50 really does. It just gives that solid foundation to just, springboard into anything that has to do with CS.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, what was the best thing about the course? Any moments you had, something really fun, or?
Oh man, your sections, of course. We had such a
I didn't pay him to say that. Okay.
No,
so sections were fun. We had a good time.
And I think I liked the community aspect of CS50. It was a group effort. We are all doing our project, we're all getting separate grades, but we're all there to help each other out. They have the discourse board. If you're struggling with a problem set, you can go on there, and you can get help from other students, from other staff, especially to Glenn. That guy's a genius. So you get this sense of community, and you just get help with a lot of other people. I love that.
All right, Neil. Well, I'm very proud of you, and excellent job.
All right, so that was really cool. There's a couple of things I want to talk about from this interview. So first of all,
there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. So first of all, I want to point out that Tom, who is the teaching fellow of that student, he's a remote teaching fellow. He lives in Japan.
Yeah, that time difference is insane.
It's further than yours.
Yeah.
He flew here last week to join us for the hackathon, and he stuck around for the fair. So it's amazing that he came all this way to be part of it. It just goes to show you how much people enjoy being at this event.
Yeah, even halfway around the world.
Right. The next thing I want to talk about from that interview is I love the stories of the students. So CS50 students select into different comfort levels depending on how much experience they have coming into the class. We have less comfortable, more comfortable in between. And then in less comfortable even, there's a big wide range. And that student said he had zero experience. And at the end, 12 weeks, he's deploying an app on Amazon Web Services.
Yeah, that's just such a big thing, right? To say that, we really emphasize in this course, what really matters is where the student starts to where they end.
Right.
And it seems like this guy made leaps
that
and bounds.
That is an enormous, huge gap that he has gone across over the course of this 12 weeks. That is not an easy feat. And what's awesome about deploying an app to Amazon Web Services like this student has done is it gives him and his colleagues, he works at a hospital that was genetic stuff, that's amazing. It's so cool.
They can use that tomorrow.
They can use it right now.
Yeah.
They don't have, it's not like it's hosted locally on his IDE. That is the kind of thing that is accessible to anybody who knows where to find it. That's a huge accomplishment for somebody who has no experience coming in. So we are heading out. We're actually going to take a look at another student video, I think. We're going to take a look at that was turning with the projects. This one is called Desk Dog. Let's take a look at Desk Dog. Oh my God, you must be beside yourself.
I am dying. That was pup-tastic.
Oh, that was... So Erin has a puppy that hangs out in the office a lot. Her name's Elfie. She hangs out with us a lot. That was so cool. And another AR app. Actually, we've seen a lot of AR stuff today.
And the video was just so well done as well.
I know, that was really cute. It was a really nice video.
I feel like I need that on my phone today.
All right, so if that student is here and they're tuned into the live stream, you know where to find us. We're right here at the desk. Erin wants to download that, right now. There was actually a QR code in the video, so I think we can hook you up. So out in the field, I think we have Grace. Do we know what Grace is showing?
I think it's Harvard Music Hub. Let's take a look.
Thanks, guys. So we're here with George and the Harvard Music Hub. George, can you tell us a little bit more about the Harvard Music Hub and how it helps Harvard musicians on campus?
Yeah, so Harvard Music Hub is a website that acts as a social media platform to connect Harvard musicians around campus. So as a musician myself, and I did this in a group, and like all my group mates were musicians, we all felt that Harvard's musical scene could use a bit more of centralization, especially given that like we often felt uninformed about what was going on musically in campus. So we decided to create this for our CS50 file project. So let's begin by just logging into my account. So yeah.
Awesome. Wi-Fi difficulties are always to be expected.
Okay.
So this seems like a really great idea, a great way to connect like Harvard musicians on campus, right? So like to create more of a social scene for people who are interested in music on campus.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously this isn't very helpful right now, but let's just, okay, I think let's do this quickly. Okay,
awesome.
Finally the Wi-Fi works. So as you can see, here's our welcome page. Here's an acapella group, HRO, and the marching band. Yeah, so generally it asks you to update your profile first. So they ask you for your music type, activity groups, and instrument types, and all of this is stored in the PHP Lite admin database, which we see back end. So let's just fill in some random ones. You can check off multiple boxes.
So these are like the interests you have. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and so the two other main things you can do on our website is create an event or post to a newsfeed. So yeah. So let's start with create event. So typically this is like, say, a concert or an audition that you're going to be holding on campus.
Yeah, they were all like...
And so first you list the musical genre, you have logistics, event name, let's say country concert. Give the month, date, year, December 9th, tomorrow. This isn't actually happening, for the record.
Oh, we were going to be there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, location, Queen's Head, let's say. Host, I don't know, Harvard Country Music Organization.
Gotcha.
So also you can add your email and phone number. I won't do it now because obviously it's a bit of busy work. And you can add the description.
And so this would be like a way for people who are interested in the event to connect with the organizer if they have any questions. Right.
Yeah, okay.
Great checks.
me@me.com.
So this makes sure that there definitely is a contact person for the event, so which is really nice to have.
Okay. So as you can see, you will find the most recent event, country concert, on our newsfeed. So
super cool. So like all the users on this database can see all the events that are available for Harvard musicians on campus.
Yeah. And also you can post to the newsfeed, which is similar to events, but it's more like if you have an announcement. Like as you can see, our one event on the newsfeed is a group posting that they need a bassist for the band.
Gotcha.
So we thought that the site could not only connect musicians through events, but also through like the more everyday, which is what the newsfeed is designed to do.
Gotcha. So really serving the Harvard Music Society like very well.
And lastly, we have a resources page that directs you to the Harvard Music Department, Office of the Arts, Crimson Arts blog, and you can click the link, go onto Harvard's websites. So, yeah.
Super cool. So what do you think was like the most difficult part of this project?
So I'd probably say like more on the logistical side, I did this in a group of 3 people, and obviously like figuring out how to like, I think just like coordination was like the logistical problem. But in terms of the actual technical implementation, we definitely had like difficulties with events because initially we were like unsure about how to go about it. Like my friend looked into Google Calendar's API, but like determined that would be like very complicated to implement. So I think it was almost as much of just thinking about the problem from a simple perspective that we could just use an event page that would like probably work better than Google Calendars, simply like given like the layout.
Gotcha, right,
Like,
because this actually is in some ways more optimal because you are able to like sort by the dates, and so you see a clear picture of all the events available on campus.
as opposed to say if there are 15 events on Saturday, they're all scrunched in a little box on Google Calendars. So yeah.
Right. That sounds super cool. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like in that video, there's a lot of trouble with the internet going on, but I mean, a lot of students have been sort of mentioning that in their little interviews.
I mean, that's going to happen. We've got several hundred people all connected to a single Wi-Fi network.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. But hey, it came together.
Yeah.
It worked
it
out.
worked.
It's live. That's what happens, right?
Yeah.
It's actually kind of hard to believe. It's 2 o'clock. We are halfway through the CS50
And what is
fair.
going to happen halfway through, Doug?
Well, all right, so we're in the middle of a shift change actually right now. So students come in 3 waves for the CS50 fair. So you'll see students come and go. The people that we have behind us will change. So because we can't fit everybody in this room all at once. So that's happening right now as well.
Yeah, we'll see a bunch of more projects.
Yeah, a bunch of new projects will come in, new students, the new energy will come to the room.
Yeah.
More guests are coming. I know that you were speaking to our high school teachers, so I think we have more folks coming after the school day gets out.
Yeah. But it looks like we're going to take a look at another project at the interview desk.
It looks like we've got my.tour.
Let's see.
Hi, I'm Caroline. I'm a junior and I'm a teaching fellow for CS50.
Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm a sophomore and I'm a current student in CS50.
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm also a sophomore and I'm a current student in CS50.
So what's your project called?
So our project is called My.Tour, and it's a website that creates custom tours of the Harvard Art Museum based on user interests.
Do you want to give us a demo?
Yeah,
I
sure.
think we'd love to.
So do you want to explain?
Sure, so we have 2 different main features. One is our curation feature, which allows you to put in an input and have our algorithm that curates a tour for you, a tour of 4 pieces within the Art Museum's collection. And the other is a design your own tour feature, where you go through 4 different steps, and at each one, you input an interest, something you want to see, and you get to actually choose the images. So maybe today we can look at the curator function.
Yeah, definitely. So we can click into this pathway, and if we have some sort of interest, Wi-Fi is a little slow today. Sorry. Okay, so if we have some sort of interest, like for example dogs, we can type that in to the interest bar, and then there are additional parameters that we can use, like a preferred color or items that are already on display, or a time period. So we can look at dogs from way, way back, for example, to look at dogs from the classical era. So we'll hit explore, and it will curate for us a tour of 4 pieces from the Harvard Art Museum's collection of dogs, and you can see here that they're all from BCE, so the classical era.
And then, let's say you really like this search, you're having a great time on this tour, but you want to see some more, you can click see more like this. Oh, and if the internet's working, it will show you 4 more pieces based on those same results. And it looks a little funky right now, but I think
Internet's a little spotty.
yes.
Yeah.
But you can see those images based on the same result.
Exactly.
Great. Can you talk about how you were able to get this information from the Harvard Art Museum into your website and what kind of languages you use in order to do so?
Sure, so the Harvard Art Museums is actually really special as a art institution because it has an API, which allows us to make use of all the data that they have on their objects. And I think it's awesome that we were able to utilize that. So within our Python code, we send GET requests to that API that gets images, object titles, dates, all the information we could need about pieces within the museum. And then we use HTML and CSS to make web pages for that, and we also have JavaScript and SQL to help other kind of functionalities involving login, saving tours, and other functions on the website.
Yeah. So one feature of our website that we won't show you right now because the Wi-Fi is down a little is you can create an account and then save your tours. And so that's what we use SQL for, saving tours to databases and then updating those tours if users want to change the name or anything like that.
Very cool. Why the Harvard Art Museum?
So Daniel and I are both pretty into the art museum. We've both taken classes there. Daniel's on the student board, and we think it's really cool because the art museum actually has about 250,000 pieces in its collection, but only about 2% of those pieces are on display, like the very tip of the iceberg. And so we thought it would be really cool to sort of make use of the fact that the API has so many different pieces that you can access via the internet and sort of get users to see some of the pieces that are a little bit less well known. Yeah.
And museums definitely are such a great resource. We love spending time there, but we wanted to make sure that kind of younger generations, millennials, people who are always on their computers and phones, could get excited about it too. And we were hoping that this sort of website would attract people to art, let them see really what they want to see, and make an experience in the Harvard Art Museum digestible, so that it doesn't feel like a giant collection, that it's something that they can really take home with them, save, and that's one that's very related to their interests.
I love it. So as the art museum gets more content, is that something that your website will reflect, or is that something that you have to update?
Yeah, so the way that our algorithm works is it queries directly from the Art Museum API, which is sort of like a database that the Art Museum curates and updates for itself. So every time the API is updated, it will automatically send that data to our website, and it will be reflected in the algorithm that returns images to you.
That's great. I can imagine the Art Museum is super excited to have this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Caroline.
All right, well, we have here a friend of the CS50 family, Chris. Good to see you again. How are you?
Good to see you. I'm doing well.
So I see that you're rocking some vintage CS50 swag. Tell us about how you got that.
Yeah, so this is my official CS50 hoodie from when I was a teaching fellow back in 2012.
Yeah, so you and I were working together. I was a remote teaching fellow that year, actually.
Nice.
So Chris and I were never on campus really together, but we were both teaching that year. It's great to have you back. And this is your first time back though, as on the sponsor side, right?
Yeah, this is my first time coming in as a sponsor since I've started working for Google.
Nice. And what do you do at Google?
So I'm a software engineer at Google. I work in the New York City office, and I'm working in corporate engineering. So I'm building internal applications to support the other Googlers.
Awesome. And now, have you had an opportunity to participate in events like this for other universities, like recruiting events or showcase events like this one?
Not at other universities. I did actually have a chance to come up to the CS50 teaching lounge space.
Okay.
And have a talk there, so that was nice.
Oh, that's right. You did that. That was earlier this year, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have tech talks that we did throughout the semester for students. So thank you for participating in that as well.
Absolutely.
So how did you get involved with CS50? Did you take it yourself?
So I did not have a chance to take CS50. I actually got involved as part of my master's program. So I came to Harvard through the extension school and had the opportunity to take several courses with Dave Malin, CS75, CS76. And then when they were getting ready to teach CS164, David brought me in as a teaching fellow.
Okay.
And I was able to work with him on later incarnations of CS75 and 76, and ultimately CS50.
Nice. Have you had a chance to walk around and see any of the students' projects so far?
Oh, I have. So,
what do you think?
The students have done amazing work, as they do every year. It's really stunning to me how, especially those who aren't on a CS track, can learn for a few months and really develop tools that help them improve their own lives in some meaningful way, which is just amazing to me.
Google is a great friend of the course. It really helps to make the students' experience really great. So thank you for being a part of that. Thank you for bringing your team down here today.
Absolutely. We're so happy to be here. We really enjoy it.
Is there anything you want to say to folks who are watching now who might be considering taking CS50 or considering maybe applying for a job at Google?
Yeah, so on the CS50 side, Absolutely. If you have the opportunity, I would totally take the course. It's an amazing program, an amazing set of resources. Even if you're not a CS major, the teaching fellows and course assistants that help you through the program really make it accessible, and people learn so much about tools that can help them in any career path they go down. So I think that's amazing. And I will have to say, Google is an amazing place to work. We've got a number of folks that have come through the Harvard program and come back, and we love the partnership with Harvard. If anybody's interested, go to google.com/students and check out the internships, or maybe you're ready to start looking at jobs. There's information there for that as well. Awesome. Yeah, please.
Well, it's always a good time to see a member of the CS50
Yeah.
family. Thank you so much for coming back. It's good to see you again. We have another student project lined up for you over at the interview station called Friday Runner.
Welcome back. I'm here with my friend Maddie and Claro, some of my students, and they're here to talk about their final project titled Sport Feed. So if you want to tell us more about, the final project, tell us more about you.
So I'm Maddie. I live in Strauss, and from DC. Undecided concentration.
I'm Clara. I'm from Virginia, and I think I'm going to concentrate in computer science.
So we made this website called Sport Feed, and it's a website that allows users to see different sports scores and then chat about it online together with everyone.
So basically the way it works is you can log in with your own name. So I'm going to log in with my name, which is Clara. I'm going to enter. And then here you can see there are different rooms to chat about different sports, like any in general. Or in the top half, there are different types of games that are just live going on right now. So I can talk about, if I want to talk about this game here, I can click on it and then I can say, wow, so exciting. And then this will appear in real time to anybody else that's also in this chat. And then if I want to go to, say, hockey next, I can click on that. I can say anything I want about that game.
And then also on the main page, if you want to create your own room for general discussion, not a specific game, then you can go here and be like, oh, new room, and create a new room for yourself. And now it's right here, and then you have a new room for whatever you want to talk about. So this part up here is for specific games, and the other part's for general discussion.
Okay.
And then another cool feature is, let's say you really like hockey, so you want to see hockey a lot. So then you just start liking the hockey games, and then when you refresh, you see how it's soccer, hockey, it's kind of random. If you were to refresh.
Well, I've also previously liked other stuff, I think.
Yeah.
So for me, it's actually different because I already had an account, so different stuff already showed up. I already had different preferences.
And then now we can see when you refresh how hockey's at the top. And then behind that, soccer and that. So it's organized based on your previous likes.
Awesome. This is an amazing final project. I think it's really interesting. Do you guys want to tell me about how you implemented it? Because I think it must have been sort of complex to build something like this.
Yeah. So the first part we implemented is the sports scores.
Okay.
So getting the sports scores data was a little bit difficult since there's no free APIs for getting sports scores. ESPN's a paid API to get the scores. So we found another website, and then we scraped data from that site, parsing it, and then we get information like the sport, the progress in the game. So this is match finished over here, the team names, and the sports scores.
Yeah. And then another thing that we had to do was, in order to make all the updates real time in terms of inside the actual room, so in the room, new room, I can't click. If you type anything in it, it'll appear, and then anyone else who's on the chat room, it'll appear instantly for them, and that we use sockets for, which was an interesting challenge and something interesting to learn about. So, and then generally we use other stuff we use, I would say Node and we use SQL for our database. So a lot of this actually, obviously I did database stuff, so.
And then we also had a lot of fun doing the CSS. We want to do all our own CSS, which took extra time, but we thought it was a lot of fun. We had a lot more control than using an external library.
And so what motivated you to build this website in the first place?
I don't know, we're just interested in sports and thought it'd be a good way to
connect people.
So it sounds yeah.
Matt, it's been amazing having you in my section. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I really enjoy teaching CS50.
Yeah.
How's your experience been for the both of you?
I've definitely had a lot of fun in your section. I think it's good. You have good balance of like teaching us the material, but also having fun and make sure everyone's learning and everything. So general, just like great time in CS50.
What about you, Clara?
I was in Brian's section. Obviously, it's not yours, but I enjoyed learning about different concepts, like starting out with what we needed to know for each week's P set, and then like moving on into like more interesting topics. So I've enjoyed it. It's been a good experience.
Thanks so much, Maddie, Clara.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So sorry. First of all, apologies. That was not Friday Runner, as I said beforehand. That's Sports Feed. So that was a cool project.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about what's going on. The music that you're hearing. One of the unsung heroes of this event is our own Colton Ogden, our in-house DJ, who's putting together a great playlist for tonight.
Yeah, for sure. And when I went to Nicaragua, because we have a CS50 location in Nicaragua, they all knew Colton because he used to open CS50 with his little.
That's right. He used to do the live drum presentations. So all the amazing tunes you're hearing are courtesy of him, and he's helping with the light show as well behind us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what are your impressions so far? I know you got a chance to walk around a second ago while we were interviewing Chris. What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a lot of great stuff. I saw one with a plant where they were using some sensors to feed it in, which is kind of cool. Seems like a lot of them have a user name and password, so things are very secure. Speaking of which, what might Forrest Gump's password be?
Oh God, I don't know.
One Forrest one.
Oh man, I was not prepared for that.
No, you were
not. You thought of that one while you had a chance to walk away, didn't you? Yeah, I mean, there's just been such a variety of projects. We're seeing so many different things, as we always do. It's great to see that. I have yet to have a chance. I'm going to hopefully have a chance in a little bit to take a walk around and take a look at that in just a minute.
But I think we have another interview queued up,
all right,
so let's take a look.
Head up. This one is called Whatever the Weather, over at the interview station.
Everybody, Tom Bellator back again here, this time with 3 high school students from Cambridge, Rindge, and Latin. So we've got Kiva, we've got Maria, and we've got Dina, right? So they've got this incredible app that I really like, and they're going to show us.
Okay, so our app is called Whatever the Weather, and it tells you what to wear based on the weather. So as you can see, we're in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and it displays that right up here at the top. And it also, currently the temperature, it's a little like partially cloudy, and the temperature is 35 degrees Fahrenheit. And Tom, are you feeling feminine or masculine today?
Masculine, go with that one today.
Okay,
yeah.
So if you're feeling masculine, you just click on this icon, and it says feeling masculine. Today wear a hoodie and jeans, and it changes. Again, if I'm feeling feminine, turtleneck, and
seriously, tomorrow I am flying to Tokyo.
Okay.
But let's say I'm flying today. Like,
Okay.
what would I be wearing if I was like going there?
Should I just change? Yeah. Okay. So
Can you show us how to do this?
Yeah. So
You see some of your code, right?
Yeah. Right now it's kind of hard coded, but if we wanted to get the Tokyo coordinates, which are here, we have them ready, and we think. Do I need to add? No,
That's good,
that
yeah.
should work, right? And then
Live
if we run
demos
it,
are dangerous, and I think it's going to work. Here it comes. So while we're waiting for this to load and everything, what was the challenge of like implementing this app?
The challenge of the app.
Like, what was the hardest thing that you had to do?
Probably retrieving the weather and connecting the data that we got with the display, because this was our first time working with an app and like interfaces and all of that. So just figuring out, in retrospect, it seems sort of easy, but just figuring out how to do everything and how to connect the information that we had to the display that we wanted. Are you sure?
Cool. Very good.
Challenging.
Okay, so we're waiting here. I got to get on the flight. Do I need a sweater?
Is it that
Do I need a t-shirt?
Yeah.
Here goes. So what language did you use for this?
We used Java because we made an Android app, and there was some XML with the user interface.
Wait, I think it's a problem maybe with these.
Cool. All right. So tell me about CS50,
Yeah.
like in general. Like, what was like the most fun part of it?
Ooh, the most fun part.
I know it was a lot of hard times, right? But
Well, it was fun that there were events that we could go to.
Yeah.
As high school students living in the area, it was cool that they opened up the events to us, like the hackathon and the fair. So that was really cool. And the lectures were definitely more interesting than your average lecture.
Did you attend the lectures in person?
We didn't, no. Well, we attended the last lecture in person.
Okay, yeah.
But since sometimes it conflicted with our school schedule, we just watched it.
We got
online.
it.
All right, cool.
We got it.
Okay,
So what's the forecast?
now if we're in Tokyo, Japan, it is nighttime and they're clear skies.
Okay.
This is the moon, and it's about the same temperature as here, so nothing really is going to change. But we can show you, for example, if it's colder than 32 degrees. It normally gets the current location, but to just show us like some test things, we can say this, and then if we run it.
Okay.
That's male.
So it gets
You have to run it again. Oh,
I think it works.
Oh, look at that.
So
Nice
as you can
hat.
see,
We
it
got
tells
that
you
in
if
my
it's
bag.
below 32 degrees to wear a jacket and a hat, because it's
That's
cold.
very practical, thank you.
Yeah.
So, last question for Maria. So you guys are in high school, right?
Yeah.
And do you get credit for this? You're taking it through extension.
so actually, but you two get credit because it's like part of their schedule, but I'm already taking 4 classes this semester, so it's extra for me, so I'm not getting high school credit.
Okay. But
yeah.
Anyway, I'm very proud of you guys, and I mean, I think it's awesome, like what you've accomplished here. And this is
CS50.
We're hearing that line a lot tonight. This is CS50, and soon, in a couple hours, it'll be was CS50, which is kind of
sad.
Kind of sad, but we'll be back again next year, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's like
People
an
don't know what
epidemic
to
of
wear.
not knowing what to wear. That's apparently a big problem.
Well,
this
you
year.
know, for me it is, because it's so cold that I legitimately don't know what to wear.
I mean, so being at staff, I've been a teaching fellow for the course for 11 years. I have an entire wardrobe of CS50 apparel. This is the 2017
I'm still building up
version, but I've got
a wardrobe.
I've got a lot going on. So we're actually coming up now almost on shift 3. So the last of the students are going to be soon arriving to demo their projects. We'll have lots more to show you in a minute with things at the interview station. But yeah, I mean, it's looking great. I love the lights. I get a good chance
still
to
popping
see them during the interviews and stuff. We can kind
You
of
see
get a
the
sense of
lights changing in the back.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. The crowd's got a lot of energy, so it's looking pretty good. We, I think, are ready to take another look, and this, I'm going to tell you the title of this one because it's a pun, and you're going to like it. It is Allergenius.
So good.
So let's take a look at what that's all about.
Welcome back. I have with me now my student Olivia Graham, here to talk about her project Allergenius. Welcome, Olivia. If you want to introduce yourself to our audience, tell them more about what Allergenius is.
Yeah, so my name is Olivia Graham. I'm a freshman at the college. And growing up, it was really difficult for my sister to buy packaged foods. She has about 15 allergies. She's allergic to peanuts, nuts, shellfish, soy, coconut, shrimp, and a whole host of other things. So the idea for this project was that it would be something that would make it easier for her to buy foods and also for other people to buy foods for her. So that's what this is.
Can I get a live demo?
Yeah, of course. So I've created an account for myself where I've entered all of my sister's allergens. So you can see nuts, almonds, pistachios, and a whole host of other things. So this would be her profile. She would enter these things herself. And from that, she could look up, for example, she wants to buy herself a box of chocolates. And the website checks whether or not it's something that she could buy and she could eat. In this case, it isn't. But my favorite part about the website is that from our service, you can actually share your personalized list of allergens with your friends.
Yeah.
So with the intent being, with the holiday season coming up, a lot of people buy, ooh, that's not how you spell that. A lot of people buy food items for their friends. And with this, you'd be able to access their unique list of allergens in order to make sure that the gift that you want to buy for them is in fact safe. So again, the same query, the Godiva box of chocolates that I want to buy her, but it isn't safe. So that's how that works.
Well, I think the project has a lot of practical applications, especially with, the holiday season coming in, people buying gifts for each other, making sure that they're buying something that's safe for people to eat.
Yeah.
So what kind of technology do you use? Do you use APIs? What programming language do you use?
Yeah, so there are sort of 3 main components
to the program, there's, first of all, just an SQL database that we use to store user information. Then there is the USDA API, which is essentially our source of all of the allergens that all of the ingredients that you see. And then from there, it was just a question of, okay, when we get that information, what do we do with it? What are we looking for? How do we compare the two? So quite simple in application, but very useful, and I thought very interesting.
Olivia, it's been a pleasure having you in my section. And I mean, I was just talking to Olivia about how I still remember our first day in section, where Olivia and I were talking outside section about, function out there, black boxes, where you get some input, you do some magic, and get some output. And seeing Olivia build this amazing project with her partner Adam, who's not here, seeing her come such a long way, I think is very fulfilling for me as a TF. But Olivia, over to you. How's CS50 been for you?
Okay, so I was always worried because I didn't think that it was a class that I could really take. Having no experience, not knowing anything coming in, but it's honestly been such an amazing learning experience because I remember the first piece at working in Scratch, even then was such a simple tool, thinking that it wasn't something that I could wrap my head around, and coming to a point where I was working on my own, building something from scratch, not the language this time, has been really incredible.
Do you have any advice for people who want to take CS50, might not have done CS before, think they're less comfortable?
Take it. Just take it. Everyone should, and it's an amazing class.
Thanks so much, Olivia. Best of luck.
Thank you.
That was great. Good endorsement. Thank you. I agree, everybody. I think should take this class. I love projects that are really personal. Yeah. Like, that obviously meant a lot to that student.
And her sister.
And her sister, of course. That's just really, it's heartwarming to see a project that is so personally meaningful. Not that all the projects here everybody has it, but that really that discussion with Arnav really.
Yeah, and I mean that's a lot of what computer science is, really defining a problem, focusing in on it, and thinking of clever ways to solve it.
Making it applicable.
Yeah.
And also, I want to know how she got all that data, because that's
a lot of data.
That was a lot of data, and that's tough. It's surprisingly tricky to get your hands on the right data, I think.
And I mean, we've seen a lot of projects so far that utilize these big data sets, and what the common user doesn't know is it's actually pretty difficult to sort of parse through all this data and sort of work with it and make it all nicely compatible with each other. So.
All right, well, let's see if what the next student has out. I think we have somebody doing an interview in the field. Perhaps Grace is out there. Let's take a look at the next project we've got.
Thank you, guys. So we're here with Mohib, Kenneth, and Ryan with Kumo. So can you guys tell us a little bit more about your mobile app?
Oh yeah. So our app was developed because when we're trying to network with other students or other faculty or anyone that you meet, it's hard to get everyone on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everything, because you have to go to each individual app or each individual website, and it just takes a long time. So our app was Kumo, and we've developed it so everything that you need to add someone on is just all in one place. So if we need to add someone, we just go to add, and then for now we only have Facebook and LinkedIn functionality, but we can add them both on this one screen instead of having to go on both apps.
Right. So if we start off on the application, so Grace, let's add you on LinkedIn right now.
Okay.
So your name is Grace, and then we'll type in your last name, Zhang.
Z-H-A-N-G.
Z-H-E-N-G.
A-N-G.
No problem. All right, we're gonna go ahead and hit search. And so right now we're searching LinkedIn through our user. And hopefully if the Wi-Fi doesn't mess up. Let's see. Okay, so we're actually just gonna try it on this one because the Wi-Fi seems to be messing up a little bit. No problem.
Does your Facebook?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I just did the exact same thing on my phone. I have the actual app imported to my phone. So I'm not sure if any of you is one of these you.
That's me.
This one?
Third one.
Third one. All right. So here we go. Just click on Grace Zhang, which is connect. Click done. And then done. And then it automatically puts you into the contact screen. So now we can get your phone or email, and then for notes, we could just say, we met you at the CS50 fair. Go ahead, and we just add, and now we're on the contact page.
And right after you add them, if you want to search up for your contacts, basically, you can go to the search bar, and I can search up Grace, who I just met.
All right. And the server just crashed.
You know what? Well, the whole idea, if the app weren't to crash with the Wi-Fi, is that Kumo is trying to connect everyone on one platform and make the whole networking process really just more streamlined. So in the future, we have some plans for getting a map integration where if you know that you met someone somewhere, but you just can't quite recall their name, you can actually go back on a map and see exactly where it is that you met them. Some other features we have in mind.
Also, another feature we had in mind is that once you meet someone, you add them on LinkedIn, you typically only keep up with them after the first week, and then you forget about them. So we thought, a useful feature would be a reminder system where you set reminders depending on the contact, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, where it will send you reminders to say, make sure to email Grace or make sure to keep in touch with her. And you basically keep in touch with the contact and establish that connection right there through Kumo.
Right, and can you guys tell us a little bit more about the technology that went into this? So I remember you said you're working with React, it works across different platforms. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we chose React because we know networking, not everyone has the exact same phones, not everyone has Android or iOS, so we coded in React. So here we have an Android device and an iPhone device, and it works on both devices because we use React Native. One challenge we had with React Native, however, is using APIs with Facebook and LinkedIn. So do you want to go into that?
Yeah, so as it is right now, the Facebook API and the LinkedIn API actually both don't support the ability to search for people and to add people through friends. So instead, we basically had to create a web loader on the inside of our application in order to load the search function for people's friends. And we also had to employ some web scraping in order to grab that person's name from Facebook or from LinkedIn. That was a super huge obstacle that we had, but luckily just with some thinking, some stepping back, we were able to turn that around and make the app a success.
So what would you say was the most difficult part of this project? Would it be that kind of?
Yeah, I think it was something right around that lines. Really, I think what it comes down to is the fact that none of us have ever used React Native before. Yeah. And React Native, everyone says, is the easiest platform to use. We disagree. But I think that's more a really great thing because sure, the learning curve was really high, but I think all three of us can agree that the amount of time it'll take for us to build the next edition of Kumo is going to be half as long. And then the next time will be half as long in the future.
Really? That's super awesome that you guys were able to learn React all for the final project and have a working app across all different platforms. So thank you so much, you guys. And now we're going to throw it back to Doug and Aaron.
A lot more of actually over the last several years is this growth of multi-person projects.
Yeah.
When I first started TFing, it was all single-person projects, and this is nice because computer science really is this collaborative discipline, right?
Yeah. And I just feel like it used to be such a thing where people wanted to, build something on their own and say this is my final project. But now it seems more with the times to be a part of a group and have someone to rely on when you're a little stuck.
It's good to see students breaking the mold of the computer sciences, you're alone in the basement of the computer lab, right?
Yeah.
It's just nice to see that sort of change.
Yeah, and I really love that app. I liked how it was bringing everyone together, how we didn't have to open multiple apps. I wish someone would do that with Lyft and Uber, so I wouldn't have to open both to compare prices. But it seems like something they could do.
Yeah, it was cool stuff. We were going to toss the interview station, but I think we're going to wait just a second. The other thing I wanted to point out about that project was risky to do some sort of thing that requires a live query, as we've seen. Some students have definitely had some internet troubles here. So that was good. I'm glad it worked out because sometimes that can be tricky when you don't have the database to rely to. All right, we're going to head over now to the interview station. There's a project there called Ivy Careers.
Let's toss it over.
Hi everybody, I'm Vinny. I'm here at CS50 Fair with the founders of Ivy Careers. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Hi, my name is Shengda. I'm class of 2020, and I'm concentrating in economics.
Hi, my name is Paul. I'm also class of 2020, concentrating in applied math.
Hi, I'm Tushar, also class of 2020 with these guys, concentrating in applied math with Paul here.
Great. Can you guys tell me a little bit about your project?
Yeah, of course. So our project is called Ivy Careers. Basically what we've done is simulate and create a careers website for students across the Ivy League, providing alternatives to what you might say Crimson Careers just for Harvard.
Yeah. That's really cool. So based on your background, what motivated you guys to do this?
Yeah, so all of us had been going through kind of a recruiting process this semester, And part of our motivation was that we felt Crimson Careers was a little bit buggy. There's hard to find specific jobs. It felt like sometimes applications just went into this void, and we hoped Ivy Careers would help with that.
We wanted something that would make the process simpler on both ends, recruiters and for students.
That's awesome. Did you guys have any experience coding before you came into CS50?
Not really. So I'm personally a first-time coder. I believe Tushar is as well. And
yeah.
Only has a little bit of experience.
All new.
That's great. So pretty much everything we're seeing here is a product of what you learned in CS50 and what you guys taught yourselves.
Yeah, actually.
That's awesome. Hey, why don't we do a quick little demo, see what it's all about?
Yeah, let's go through it. So we've made some pre-accounts for students and recruiters already to walk you through some of this. So let's look at a student called Lucas. Okay. Let's log him into his account. Wonderful. Interesting. Lots of users right now across CS50.
Hook up to Wi-Fi?
Let's see.
Wi-Fi's not working.
Yeah. Let's see here. Give it a quick second, and we're back on. It has to load through it. Perfect. All right, let's give Lucas another shot.
Yep.
Wonderful. Cool, so Lucas is in already. He already has one job application under review right now, something he submitted earlier, but let's go through and see if he can submit another one,
sure.
All right? So we can go through, quickly browse through all the jobs available. Still not seeing anything we're super interested in. So for now, let's see if there's anything recommended for me based off of my interest that I put in, the industries and interests that I find most accessible for myself. No, still not really fully feeling it. And we can search as well, but going through browse, I didn't really see what I was looking for, so I'll hold off for now, see if a recruiter happens to post the job that I'm interested in. So I'll log out for now.
Sure. And I'm coming in here as a recruiter, so I'm the recruiter for a company called Avenir, and I already have a couple jobs in the portal, so I'm looking for an intern, a summer intern, and a full-time analyst, but let's say I'm in the market for an associate right now. So we put in for an associate. It's due early next year. It's a full-time position, and it's in consulting. And we want students that are graduating in 2019 with a BA. So obviously, we just see it on our careers portal now. It's associate full-time, no applicants yet. So I'll log out and wait.
Cool. So, a couple days later, I want to give it another shot. See if there might be something that could be a good fit for me. So I'll go through and log in one more time. We'll go through here. I'll check my recommendations. Still no updates on the front of this one. Go through my recommendations. Oh, new job has been posted. This one seems pretty cool to me. I think I might just go ahead and apply to this one. So we'll see how this goes. Log in to apply, looking at the details of the job. Perfect, I still have time to apply. We're looking at, here's the recruiter's email address right here. There's a company. Everything looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and apply to this job.
Awesome, so we gotta wrap up this demo in a little bit, but can you tell me basically what would happen beyond this and kind of what's the end result of the website?
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so after applying for a job, both the recruiter and the student get an email notification, help that feeling that your application doesn't just get sent into a void. And then the recruiter can decide to hire the student, at which point, or interview or waitlist or reject, at which point the student also gets an email notification, and they have contact information from there and can get things set up from there.
That's great. You guys did a really great job with this project. I'm so glad you guys took CS50, and what a great result.
Thanks so much,
guys.
Vinny.
Thanks so much, Vinny.
Appreciate it.
I think that. Hi guys, I'm back at the desk, and we actually have a guest here from Microsoft.
Hi, how are you doing?
Great. So why don't you introduce yourself?
All right, I'm Allison Bugles-Al. I'm a program manager on the Visual Studio team at Microsoft. I'm a 2015 alum. I took CS50 back when I was a sophomore in, wow, I think that'd be 2013? Whew. No, 2012 maybe, 2012. So it's been a while.
In high school.
Oh God. Now I know how everyone else on my team feels when I mention when I graduated from college.
And I feel like everyone knows you because if you haven't taken CS50, Allison does the short for Scratch, and everyone finishes week 0. So this is a very familiar face for a lot of the people here today.
I hope that it was helpful. I feel a little bit like a celebrity because everyone's come up to the Microsoft booth and been like, "You're from the Scratch video, thank you." And it's been awesome, but it also feels a little weird sometimes. But I'm super happy that how many people have found it really helpful.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the projects that you've been working on at Microsoft and sort of how CS50 has prepared you for that?
Yeah, so I'm actually really fortunate to be working on Visual Studio, which is a developer tool. So anything that I do sort of goes out and is multiplied because people use my product to build other software for the world, which is super exciting. I'm currently focused on the getting started experience. So we're looking at people who are new to coding or new to Visual Studio and how we can better help them understand our product and how they can use it to be more effective as they build software, which having been a TF for CS50, I know a lot more about how people learn how to code, how they get used to new environments, and that's really helped me a lot in my time at Microsoft so far.
Great. Well, I don't really use Microsoft a whole lot. I have a Mac. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about Visual Studio, because I honestly have no idea.
Yeah, so Visual Studio is what we call an IDE, or an integrated development environment. Okay. For other people, you might think of things like Eclipse or Emacs if you take CS51, or at least that's what we used when I took CS51. Yeah. And it's basically just a suite of tools to help you develop software. Mm-hmm. The analogy that I love to use is that when you're writing an essay, you use Word. Yeah. It does formatting, it helps you with grammar and spell check, and it makes you a better writer in some ways. Visual Studio does the same thing but for coding. So it helps you understand when you've spelled things wrong, or it helps you debug and figure out errors, and it makes everything look pretty and colorified and structured in a way that's easy to work through. Yeah. So that's generally what Visual Studio is. If you ever go into large-scale software development, you'll likely use something like Visual Studio.
Awesome. So what advice have you been given to CS50 students and the people here more generally about if they want to join a position at Microsoft or any tech position, really?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I think first, make sure that you have a passion for the field, right? A lot of times we can train you. If you don't have all of the experience, that's fine, but we're looking just for people who are willing to learn. Also, make sure you know your recruiters. They are your foot in the door, so make sure you take advantage of opportunities like the CS50 Fair to come meet some of us so that we can make sure you get an interview where you can.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, is there any last bit of advice for anyone who's thinking about taking CS50 but not really sure?
So take it. I mean, you have that pass-fail option, which lets you learn as much as you can in a low-pressure environment, and just give it a shot. I was a chemical and physical biology major. I thought I was going to go to med school, and CS50 really opened my eyes to the other opportunities that I had. So give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like great advice. I never thought that I would be doing anything with CS. I was an education major, so look where we are now.
Yep, and often, you know, CS really intersects with so many of the things we're doing today. So many things have technology as an aspect, so you really can't go wrong by getting your feet wet with CS50.
Yeah. Any parting words?
Take CS50, it's awesome. It will change your life whether you think it will or not.
And this was Scratch?
Yes, this was Scratch, this was CS50, and maybe you'll see me next year.
All right. Well, thanks for sitting down with us.
Of course.
Looks like we're off for another interview.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the CS50 Fair. My name is Michael. I'm a TF for the CS50 course, and I'm up here today with
Wally Adewi,
who is a student here who has brought to us this wonderful, unique contraption called the
Transformative Irrigation.
Right, so Wally, this is not like most CS50 projects, as
True.
I could imagine most people would tell.
Yes.
So could you tell us a bit about what was the process behind making this? You said this was also an ES50 project,
Yeah,
right?
so essentially this is an Arduino-controlled irrigation system that is also interfaced with an Android app. And essentially you can click any of these buttons on the app, and that will determine how much water flows through this pipe at any given point in time.
Excellent.
All right, see right there. And essentially, we connected the Arduino to the phone with a Bluetooth sensor, a Bluetooth module HC05. And basically, the app sends one character strings to the Arduino, and that determines how long the Arduino will open or close the valve, and that determines how much water you get from the flow system.
Excellent. So what are some proposed usages of this system that you could think of?
All right. So this is perfect for if you're not sure how much water to give your plants. We already have preset settings for you to use, and also if you're not necessarily close to your plant and you don't have immediate access to a water system, you can just click a button on your phone and all of a sudden your plants will be watered.
Excellent. And if you had, say, another few months to work on this project, what were the biggest areas of improvement you think you could make on this?
All right, so rather than connecting to Bluetooth, which can sometimes be spotty, changing the connection to Wi-Fi would be able to make the system much more efficient, and also that would enable you to kind of implement it as an IoT product, which could be connected to a smart home, for example. So that could be controlled by a button on a wall instead of on your phone.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And you had a partner with this project. I know she didn't want to be brought on, but could you give a quick shout out to her for working on it?
Yeah, shout out to Jamie Keynes and also Brianna Townsend, because they worked with me on actually developing the hardware so that they could help me easily connect it to the phone, things like that.
Right. You were saying the hardware was the hardest part about this to make.
Yeah.
Could you tell us what the biggest struggle was during this process?
Right. So there's a part connected to the Arduino called a relay, and that is supposed to make it easy to control the solenoid valve, which opens and closes and allows the water to come out. And like, we didn't know anything about how relays worked, so we watched hours and hours on tutorials to just figure out this one connection. So that was probably the most difficult part, but once we got it to work, it was very rewarding.
It certainly looks like it.
Yeah.
So one of the cool things about computer science particularly is we've seen it kind of bubble up from middle schools and high schools is this like maker mentality where you take like things and like computer science them. So like somebody brings in like a rig like that, that's really cool. Like
And I mean, it's not even really hardware, it's just like...
No, it's just using the things that you have in the house. And like computer science is really about applying things to your life. And your life is not just ideas or things you like, it's things you have and things that are around you.
Yeah, and I feel like, especially with high school students or a younger audience, having something tangible that you can manipulate and work with in that way is really engaging.
Yeah, it is engaging. But it's engaging too for like students in college too, just to take something and transform it like that. So speaking of college, we're here at Harvard, and out in the field, I believe we now have a Harvard Campus Guide project. So if you're not familiar with our campus, maybe this project will give you a little bit of a guide about what the campus is like.
So we're here with Daniel and Bill and their project, Campus Guide. I've really enjoyed my time with you all. I'm going to be handing it off to my good friend Erin.
Awesome, thank you, Grace. So Bill and Daniel, talk to me a little bit about, we're talking about Campus Guide. Walk me through, what is your project? What are we doing here?
All right, so this is our website, Harvard Campus Guide, and it contains a directory of over 370 locations across campus. These are date spots, dining spots, study spots, and these are all probably places you've never heard of before because we have a very comprehensive database. And as you can see here, users are able to rate these locations based on certain criteria, like how lit can this place get, or how likely would you go on a date here. And based off of that, we have user input, and you can go over here to see what other Harvard students think of these places, like the top restaurants or the top date spots. And we hope this is a valuable resource for incoming freshmen, as well as all students, when they're figuring out where to go to study, where to go to eat, or whatnot.
Awesome. So I guess what are the different categories you guys have listed out here for top anything, really?
So on the Discover tab, we have all three. So our database is comprised of 370 different locations around the Harvard campus, all submitted by students for students to use. And the different categories we have are, we have different restaurants, and we display all the restaurants that are in our database alphabetically. So there's something like 50 restaurants. We also have hidden spots around campus. We have date spots. We have places to cry, which are especially important given that it's finals week and I'm already crying. We have sleep spots, and we have 16 categories overall that are just very comprehensive, and we feel covers the wide array of different locations around campus.
It's really impressive. Definitely top cry spots and top sleep spots, my two favorite categories by far. So what did you guys find as you were moving through this was the biggest challenge you faced?
So I would say the challenges are twofold. The first part, accumulating all the data, required a lot of work because you're never going to find these cry spots or hidden spots online. So we had to manually input most of the information, and we asked a lot of Harvard students to tell us too about where they go to study and whatnot. That way we could get the most accurate information. So that on the data side was the most challenging part for me.
And for me, the hardest part was the user interface, because we have to retain the interest of our users without making the process overly complex, so that since our website is based on crowdsourcing, we need people to actually input ratings. So if we don't make the website attractive to use and easy to use, then no one's going to actually contribute to it. So I think designing that aspect of the site was done.
Awesome. Well, I have to say, I think the design looks great because of a ton of information jam-packed in here, and it's going to be really helpful for new students, especially new freshmen. So that's Campus Guide for you guys. We're going to send it back to you, Doug and Aaron.
I really like that the Harvard Campus Guide was also done by freshmen, because it gave them like an opportunity to explore and see what the campus is like.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like I need this app. Like, I don't know the Harvard campus very well.
You don't know the best place to go on a date on the
or
Harvard
to cry?
campus?
No, I don't. And
they were packing a lot of information. That's a lot of things to have to maintain. They probably got a really robust database in the back end.
And I mean, it's stuff that you can't, like you said, you can't find on the internet. So a lot of that was sourced by him.
Yeah, that probably involved a lot of like reaching out to either he was doing it himself or just like having to do a lot of data solicitation. Which when you're relying on others to help populate your data, like that's tricky.
Yeah, and it almost
I've
feels
done
like
projects where I've had to send out surveys and wait to get the results.
Yeah, and it always just feels like you're cutting it so close to the deadline because you're waiting for results from other things that it would stress me out.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got about almost an hour left in the CS50 fair. It's shocking to me how fast this goes by. It really does.
Yeah.
It's kind of for me, it's like a double-edged sword. Like it's great to be able to share this with you and like sort of let you know what's going on with this. On the other hand, like I can't really mingle around and see all the projects. I only get to do that at the very tail end of things. It's still a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I mean, there are just so many different things going on. And like every time we get a new wave of students, it's like a brand new set of projects. There are like some really cool hardware stuff that I saw earlier that I wanted to check out, but we'll just have to wait and see what comes up in our interviews, and hopefully we'll get to see some of it.
All right, and I think we're actually, speaking of those interviews, I think we've got another one ready to go right now. I believe it's called Crimson Club, and I think Arnav's going to give us a quick tour with the students.
Yes, and we're back. And now I have with me my students Winnie, Wendy, and Annabelle here to talk about their amazing project that's called Crimson Closet. So guys, why don't you tell me about yourselves, this project, and what you guys have done?
Okay, so I'll introduce myself first. I am Wendy from Wigglesworth, and I'm a freshman. So our project is titled The Crimson Closet, and it focuses on solving the problem of broke college students and fashion. So, like everyone in college is pretty much broke, but you want to be able to make money off of your clothing, and you want to be able to buy clothes for cheap as well. So what our program allows you to do is it allows users to upload their clothing and rent it out for pretty cheap, or like sell their clothing. And on the other end, users can also buy their clothing for cheaper. So this is our goal. You can read about right here. And you can also see our team. And if you log in.
So right now we're going to log into the user A. Should I introduce? So I'm Winnie. I'm a freshman living in Thayer. But now going back to our website, so once you log in, you have all your buy and rent options on your main page. So let's say that you want to purchase this dress. So you can view the dress, and then within the pop-up window, you can message myself. Say I'm interested in purchasing, renting this dress. When can we meet up? And then you'll send this message. And so that's how you can contact viewers. If you would like to buy or rent any sort of options, you can filter with buy and rent on our page. And then,
do you want to we can,
so
okay, I can log in.
Currently I was logged into A, but if I want to go into Winnie, who was a vendor, then I'll log in as Winnie.
Yeah.
And then you can go into your messenger and here.
Yeah, and I'll introduce myself a little. I'm Annabelle. I'm a freshman from Mauer. And so like what we have here is basically Winnie's user account. So from here, you can look into her messenger and see the variety of different messages that of prospective buyers or renters. So at the very end, Winnie right here, she from account user A, she basically demoed a message. So it says, "Hi Winnie, I'm interested in renting this dress. When can we meet up?" So you can definitely see a lot of different interests here. So you can also delete a lot of these messages if you wanted to. Also, if you wanted to reply back to user A, you can basically reply by typing in the username and then typing in whatever message you want. So yeah. And then basically on profile, this is basically where the user can upload any types of garments or images of garments that they want to sell or rent. So like from here, you can upload an image of the clothing, check either rent or sell, and then choose the size. And then from here, you can definitely see like the different past uploads. And let's say you already sold a piece of clothing or rented it out, you can delete this entry.
So that's the basic overview of our project.
That's such an exciting project, and it looks, very complex with so many different moving parts. Must have been difficult to assemble. So, what kind of technologies, programming languages did you guys use to build this website?
So ours is a combination of a lot of different languages. We focus mainly on HTML, CSS, and Python. We also actually use a little bit of JavaScript in there. So yeah, we've combined a lot of the knowledge that we've learned this year throughout CS50. Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, it's been a joy teaching so many students. Winnie's actually been one of the students in my section. I really enjoyed teaching her. But tell me about your experience in CS50. How has it been for you guys?
Well, personally, this is my first CS class, so I'm very new to CS. So it's really incredible to see that, like, from day one, going to Scratch is already very foreign. But like seeing that, like, we have a very tangible object, our website, we worked really hard on, and it's like something that I think we're all very proud of. And it just shows like the climax of like all the work that we've done in CS50.
Yeah. What about you, Wendy?
So I actually took AP Computer Science in high school. But that was a totally different experience. It was like workbook every day, multiple choice. So it's super different. I've never actually understood like how it goes from like coding on IDE or like Eclipse, for example, which we used in high school, to the actual website that users use. So it's so exciting for me to be able to see how this works.
Yeah. Same for me. I also took AP CS in high school, but I think what I really enjoyed about CS50 was, or especially this final project, was I felt like I learned a lot by going through like the motions of like creating a website, and then also being able to use a lot of the different languages we use throughout the year. It was really interesting.
And do you have any plans to launch this website as like
honestly, if we can get enough interest, if people are interested, we definitely put the work in to get this out there. I don't know if it's good enough yet, but yeah.
Thank you, team. Thank you so much. Yes?
Thank you.
Thank you. We good?
Well, another great project.
Yeah.
Good to see so many of these projects coming through.
Yeah, it's really hard to keep track.
Huh?
It's really hard to keep track because
I know,
they're all so different.
We've talked to 30, 40 people now already.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to waste any more time. I think we've got another one ready to go. So let's head out to the field. I think we got Aaron out there.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got coming
Aaron,
up.
passing it to Aaron.
Aaron, passing to Aaron.
Thanks for throwing it back, guys. We're out here with Aaliyah and her project, Talented Atlantans. This is gonna change the way job searching goes if you don't live one of those big talent cities like Boston or New York. Aaliyah, tell me a little bit about what you've done here, what you've put together with your project for us.
Yeah, so I'm a very passionate Atlantan from Atlanta, Georgia, born and raised. And I am going home to Atlanta after I graduate and just wanted to start the process of like finding a great job. And what I found was that I was going between a bunch of different websites. There are some sites that, the same place which you find a really interesting job also has a job that's like really uninteresting because it's not in the right level for you. And so what I wanted was a place that I could build that just brought all of those jobs together, particularly for those of us who don't live in, the Boston, San Franciscos, or New Yorks of the world. And so I built Talented Atlantans to once a day go to all the different sites that have jobs on them, pull in the ones that are in Atlanta and at the right senior level for me, because I want to be in a senior level nonprofit role after I graduate. And then it just displays them for me so that as I'm working on my job search, all those jobs come in one place. And it can easily be modified so that Phoenix, Arizona could be just an easy replacement for Atlanta, and go find all of those jobs in that place and help people around the country find jobs locally to them so they don't feel they have to move away and take their talents with them to another place to find their dream job.
That's awesome. It's super user-friendly. We looked at Talented Atlanta's a little bit before, and it's got some great job offers coming out. Talk me through a little bit of the different tech elements you have going on here, because there's a lot going on in the back end that looks great.
Thank you. So you can see from this slide, I will actually just make it a little bit bigger for everyone. You start by going to all these different sites, grabbing the information, and then after that, a scraper pulls it all in using the Heroku scheduler. So that runs once per day and allows the system to sort of grab all of the new jobs that would be interesting. It saves it to a PostgreSQL database, and then finally, I use a combination of Flask and Heroku to call that up, and I used Webflow to help style my CSS because I wanted to focus on the muscle memory of computer science, and then also on building this useful tool to me. And so I let Webflow sort of take care of all the design elements that were going to be a part of it.
So it looks absolutely phenomenal. It's super well put together, and there's a lot going on there. What did you find over the course of putting this together was the biggest challenge you faced in trying to piece together Talented Atlantans?
Yeah. I mean, I think that the biggest challenge is that every job posting site, the way that you scrape these things is that the scraper goes, it finds a bunch of different HTML elements, and it says, here's the job posting, here's the date posted, here's the link that it goes to. And to find those things is a very manual process for each website. So anytime you add a new website, you need to figure out, how does this specific job posting page structure their setup, and how do I find the elements that I need, or can I find them? There were some instances where I had to kind of generate a random date for something because it doesn't tell me what date it was posted. So that was, I think, the hardest part, was figuring out how to find specific pieces of information within the HTML tree.
We definitely worked through that challenge and got this put together really well, really very user-friendly. It's great to see. Back to you, Doug and Aaron. That was a great project.
There's not enough time in this fair to see all the projects. And so, we're going to do something we've never done before as far as I'm aware. We're going to look at two projects
at the same time.
So we're going to throw to Tom at the interview station to look at Chess and Mahago, two separate projects in one interview.
Can we do it? Yes, we can.
Find out.
Tom Balator back here again. I've got two amazing apps. They're together. We're doing this together because it's apps that are written in C. Okay, this is C++ and C, and that's something I haven't seen too much of so far this evening. So, first of all, Elliot, one of my students. Elliot's 16, homeschooled high school student, the guy I go to in section when I don't know the answers, who always fills them in. So, Elliot, can you show us what you've done with your app?
Yeah, so this is chess on C++, as Tom just explained. So the board is represented with different characters. So each piece is a color type pair. So for example, the piece in the square A2 is a white pawn. So to make a move against the computer, you enter your starting coordinates followed by your ending coordinates. So for example, D2 to D4 will move a pawn up. So the countdown, so the countdown you just saw was the computer deciding what move to make. You can tell the computer just moved its black knight down from the top row. So now I might follow up with E2, E4, we'll move my second pawn up. You can see it's challenging with its pawn, so maybe I'll go E4 to C5. Oh wait, that's not legal. I meant E4 to D5. There we go. I'm gonna try.
It's really thinking now.
Yeah, I'm making it think. You can see it's slowing down, but oh look, it took my pawn with its queen.
That's so cool. So why did you choose C++ to code this?
Well, I chose C++ because C++ is considered an object-oriented language, which means you can store different elements as their own object. They can store both data types and functions to manipulate the data.
Wow, that is so cool. So, Elliot, excellent job. Let me switch to HTML over here. And you're going to Uriah, who's a freshman, probably going to be concentrating in physics, probably, you're saying, right?
Yeah, well, let's look at what I'm looking at.
Let's put this in here, and hopefully this will go when we get that. How are we looking with that? There it is, right? Okay. So, the game of Go, Mahogo.
Okay,
Tell us about this.
Okay, so I decided to do a project to create a digital environment which two people on the same computer can play Go.
So Mahago is just a play on my screen name, Mr. Mahogany. And so let's go ahead and jump right in. So here's the menu itself. There are 3 different options, new game and load game. We're going to do, for the purpose of the demonstration, load game. So this is the first few moves of a particular famous Go game called 16 Soldiers. So the game itself, the graphical output is handled by a library called SDL, which is a low-level language that can also help me, or a low-level library that can also handle like basically mouse events and other forms of input. And overall, players can, alternating between black and white stones as expected, can place stones on the board. And they can capture them, and most of these functionality are handled automatically by the computer, including the ability to, whenever a stone is captured, they are de-rendered. Whenever, at the very end of the game, which the game can end by 2 passes or a resign, at the end of the game, by 2 passes, the game's automatically scored using a scoring algorithm.
You know, honestly, like looking at this, I did not think you coded this in C. Like, cause my image of C is not like very graphic friendly. But like, why did you choose C, and why did it turn out so nice?
Well, I was originally going to go for C++, because it's just easier to work with, or it's better for gaming as a whole. But I just chose with C because working from I would have to learn C++ completely from scratch, and that's kind of a messy process. But I chose C in general because I like a proper compiled language, because my first language was Fortran, so whenever I first moved into C, it felt rather comfortable. But I chose C because of the comfortability that I had with it versus something like Python, which I liked well enough, but I wasn't the biggest fan of.
Really? Wow.
And I'd also already heard about the SDL library and able to work with that, and so a lot of it was just familiarity and also the power that working in low level gives you.
Absolutely. My hat's off to you guys for like challenging yourselves and going at these. Any thoughts on CS50 in general? Like, what did you think, like coming in as someone who's a little bit younger? What was like the best part of the whole course?
Well, I thought the problem sets were really quite fun. They were a great challenge, and they really helped solidify the material you learned during lecture.
Okay. What was your favorite piece set?
What was my favorite piece set? Oh, I don't know. I thought the Speller was probably one of my favorites.
Speller was fun, yeah, absolutely. And for you, same question.
I really enjoyed the final project as a whole. It gave me a lot of creative freedom, allowed me to choose my own project and all that. And in general, I also like the piece sets that gave me a little bit more creative freedom, like Speller, for instance.
Yeah. All right, well, gentlemen, I think this is like amazing to see, like people taking like the early code that we had in the beginning of the semester and turning this into some sort of projects that we can really go forward and really enjoy. So I think that's a big thank you for coming on. And this is CS50. One more time, ready? This is CS50. I should have prepped you on that. Anyway, guys, really, really nice job.
That was really great, seeing 2 projects at once. Definitely something we've never done before. But kind of switching gears here, we have our friend Max from Facebook.
Hi Max, welcome to the stage. Thank you. The half round. How are you?
Doing okay.
Now, we were just talking before you came on. This is your 4th time at the CS50 Fair?
It's my 4th time with Facebook. I think I've been here before as a student.
Oh, excellent, excellent. So you've seen it evolve over the years as well.
Yes,
so we have a slightly different look.
It's a little darker this year than usual.
A little darker with the bistro lights.
Yeah.
So tell us about how you came to start working at Facebook.
All right. Well, I interned at Facebook twice when I was an undergrad at Harvard, and I actually didn't go to Facebook straight out of school, but I left the first job that I took on fairly quickly, and then I decided to come back to Facebook. It's just a really nice place to work.
Awesome. What about like recruiting events? Do you do other events like this here? Or not, I know this isn't a recruiting event per se, but do you do these kinds of events at other schools around the area?
I've mostly done events at Harvard because I have a connection to Harvard, and I like working with the people here. I was a Harvard student, and if anything I can do to help people at Harvard sort of like find the track that's for them, whether that's coming to Facebook or going somewhere else, I mean, I'm in for that. So that's why I like coming back to Harvard in particular.
And Max, very briefly, can you tell us a little bit about what you do at Facebook?
Sure. Yeah, I'm a software engineer at Facebook. I work on a compilers team. We are the language runtime for a language called Hacklang, which is the language that we use for all of Facebook's sort of web code. All the web business logic runs this language, which has its sort of historical roots in PHP.
Nice. Have you had a chance to chat with a bunch of students today as they come by?
Yep.
Seen some cool projects?
Yeah. There's a lot of people who are interested in it. It's nice to see sort of a lot of different degrees of investment in computer science and in technology in particular. There's sort of people from all different fields interested in all sorts of different things who are interested in tech companies, and I think that's good. I think it's really important to have diversity, not just of like perspective and background, but also of interest, because technology is more than just coding, it's more than just programming, it's more than just computer science. Technology it's a social tool, right? It's something that like impacts society greatly, and so people who have all sorts of different social interests coming and working at big tech companies like Facebook is something that really benefits us.
No, that's a very good point. I mean, we've seen computer science really become more entrenched in high schools and middle schools and so on. Like, do you have advice for folks who are out there listening, maybe have not taken computer science or are afraid to take it?
Sure, yeah, I mean, I don't think you should be afraid to take it. It's sort of, it's as much a study as any other study in the academy is, right? I do think CS gives you a sense of something very powerful, which is technology, right? Technology is very powerful. It shapes society in ways that other things can't, that like sort of social movements or anything outside the scope of technology is not always able to do. And studying CS gives you some insight into how this actually happens at like a sort of low level, right? It's not the only thing that matters, right? It's also important to sort of be aware of society and be aware of a lot of other issues, but certainly this gives you an insight into it that you don't get if you don't take CS. And it's not necessarily for everyone, but an intro course in CS, or at least understanding CS, even if you don't become a programmer, even if you don't learn programming, getting a sense of what it is, I think is useful, just for being a citizen of the world.
I have one more quick question for you before we toss back out to the field. Facebook is very involved in an event we have during the term called Prep and Practice for Technical Interviews. Okay. Do you have any advice for folks who are considering, we have a bunch of seniors here who, in their final year, like as they go out to pursue technical interviews or internships?
So advice for people who are interviewing?
Yeah.
I think for the most part, I never did a lot of sort of targeted interview prep myself, and I think the stuff that was most useful to me was the fundamentals, right? Fundamentals that you learn in Harvard classes like CS124, and sort of fundamentals of actual software engineering that you pick up in like CS61 and 161. Those are the things to focus on, right? If you've taken, those three classes in particular are really good prep for interviews, and if you took them and you sunk the right amount of time into them, I think you will be plenty prepared.
Great advice. Max, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks for Facebook being a great friend to the course.
Yeah, well, we're going to jump into the field for some more interviews. This one's called Hey Harvard.
Thank you, guys. We're out here with Emily, and we're going to be talking about Hey Harvard. Now, this is going to be a project that's really going to get the administration listening. Emily, talk to me a little bit about what your project's doing here.
So essentially, I created a website for Harvard College students to anonymously let the college know what differences they want to see being made on campus. So once you log in with your @college.harvard.edu email, you're taken to the input page. So at the top, we have a text box where you can put literally anything you want. You can talk about an experience you had, maybe in one of the dining halls, or maybe an issue you have with one of the policies. And then below that, there are 10 aspects you can rank the college on 1 through 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. So once you submit your feedback, you're taken to the statistics page. And this is basically just a visual representation of the average numerical rankings of all the previous responses that have been entered by other college students. So you can compare your own beliefs to those of your classmates, and also once I give faculty access to this database, they can see on the whole what people think needs the most improvement at the college and what people think is already doing a great job, what needs the least improvement.
Awesome. Yeah. That seems like a really good way to be able to condense down a lot of those different surveys that the school has us take every single year. So can just anybody fill out this survey, or is there a limit on it? Who can fill out the survey for us?
Yeah. So when you register, you have to input your college email. So I made sure the code checks that your email ends with @college.harvard.edu. And you also have a password so that I wouldn't be able to enter one of my friends' college emails and just write on their behalf. So you need to remember your password.
That makes a lot of sense. It's a really good way to check and make sure these are just Harvard students that are filling this out. You say something about how Harvard faculty could possibly also see these results?
Yeah. So I haven't figured out that aspect. If I were to take this off of the CS50 IDE, I would need to look into, like, do I give access to the UC or other faculty members who needs to see these results, who would find them valuable. So I am interested in actually using this as a tool for the college. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Awesome. I think this is something the UC, the Undergrad Council, would be really interested in seeing as they're trying to make their improvements. So I just have one more question for you. As you were going through this is really well put together. What did you find was the most difficult part of trying to put this project out?
The most difficult part was trying to figure out how to create like the visual display of the other average rankings inputted by other students. I ended up using a Google API, but it was difficult to figure that out because it's something that we didn't really cover in class. But once I figured that out, it was smooth sailing.
Awesome. Yeah, visual processing is definitely a huge challenge in computer science, but you did a great job putting it together. So that's Hey Harvard for you guys. Let's go back to Doug and Aaron.
I have to agree with Aaron completely on that one. Like, visualization is actually a really interesting problem for students to solve in computer science. It looks like she was using the Google Charts API, so it's nice to see somebody digging in again to something that goes totally beyond the scope of what we teach.
Yeah.
Seeing a lot of that today, we always do. It's always inspiring to see.
Yeah, and I feel like every year I'm sort of amazed by what sort of new things people come up with, and it always changes. So.
I don't want to take any time away from our students who want to show off their projects. We've got somebody lined up for the project called DC Metro over at the interview station with Tom. Let's hear about DC Metro.
Tom Balator back here again, this time with Jihang, another great student here who's prepared an app called DC Metro. So let's take a look at this.
Sure. So here on my screen, this is the iPhone simulator opening this home screen. This is my app, DC Metro. Let's click and open it. This is the launch screen.
Okay.
So I try to design it very cleanly, so
Sure.
it doesn't have a lot of hassles. So you can type in the from station. This list is the history that I've searched before.
So you're living in DC, right?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, so that's why I created this DC Metro app.
Okay, very good.
So that I can test it. So now let's see, if I want to go to Crystal City, travel from Crystal City.
Okay.
I do CRY, then I can auto-complete the field. Let's say if I want to go to Judiciary Square as my destination, I type in Judiciary Square. And as you can see here, we have two tables. The first one is the trains at Crystal City table. You see all 4 trains currently at Crystal City. And for the trains that are to the same direction, the number of minutes are collapsed into one row. And you can scroll down to refresh the table in case you close the app and turn it on when you were catching the train.
So tell me about these possible paths here.
Yeah, so these possible paths are based on real-time calculation locally. So I'm not getting any data from Google or any other solution apps. So for now, you see from Crystal City to Judiciary Square, it has found 11 possible paths.
Okay.
And then if you scroll down, you'll see all these passes. But the most probable one is the one on the top.
So that'll be the fastest one, the one
That will
on
be the
top.
fastest one in terms of number of stops.
So and you're able to handle like train breakdowns and stuff, like through like reroute?
Yeah. So I have to take fetch data from DC Metro API and then construct this sort of network in my memory. And then in order to do this real-time calculation, I need to go through all possible transfer candidates. And so it's basically like the dynamic programming concept, where you, from your from station, you send messages to all your first transition connected dots. Then for each of the transition points, you send more messages. So the DC Metro system is designed in a way so that you don't have to transfer more than 2 times.
Okay.
So I only did 3 levels.
Sure.
Yeah, so as you can see here, the yellow to red line train path, if you click on it, you'll see the detail of the travel. You need to wait for the yellow line train for 1 or 10 minutes. Then hop on the yellow line train, you will take it for 11 minutes for 5 stops. Then get off at Gallery Place, Chinatown. Then the next train is leaving in 7 minutes from Glenmont.
That's really cool, yeah. So when you say real time, like how often do you pull data down? Like how many seconds or something?
Yeah, I try to minimize the data user need to use from this app. So that's why I included this pull down to refresh functionality so people can.
And what language did you code this in?
Swift.
Swift. Okay. How was Swift? Is it as friendly as Apple makes it look?
I think it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Apple didn't make the documentation too intuitive, but by searching online, I was able to get most of the documentations.
So you're in DC. Like, how was it taking the course like remotely? Like CS50 in general.
I don't think it feels remote at all. At least like for taking lectures and we have sections every week. I feel all the TFs and all the heads are very helpful and responsive. So I don't actually feel remote. And now I'm here at the fair, so I see everyone in person.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. So any like final thoughts like on the app? Like what do you plan on doing with this? Do you plan on like actually going into the App Store with this or just using it yourself and like beating the rush? Or?
I've been using this myself and I've been recommending this to my like colleague and friends.
That's
just
so cool.
to see if they want to install it from my computer. I haven't uploaded it to the App Store yet. But I feel this is like a good enough replacement for the current app that we have.
No, absolutely.
DC Metro.
Yeah, I would use it if I was in DC. No.
And I like the design of my app, so.
No, I like it. It's very simple. I mean, it's easy to use, and you can see the routing there. So very nicely done. So Jihang, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Always a pleasure, and thank you very much. So that is a wrap for the DC Metro.
Hey, Aaron.
What?
Do you think CS50 made him feel well trained?
I thought I was making the puns here.
No, I'm just making the bad puns.
All right, well, we got one more interview in the field. Let's toss it over to Aaron.
Thank you, Doug and Aaron. We're back with Justin and his project, Boston Auxilium. We're going to be talking about huge ways to help the greater Boston community today. Justin, tell me a little bit about your project. Walk me through what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. So users start off by creating a profile. So for all intents and purposes, we'll just call this test. They create a password. And then once they register, they're greeted with a place where they can create their profile. So it asks them a series of questions, most of them relating to their current living arrangements and socioeconomic status. So I'll just fill out a few of these, and then we can just skip through. And so once they answer all the questions, questions such as, do you have a place to sleep at night? Do you have a regular source of food? Questions like that. It connects them with a list of resources in the Boston area that it thinks will most benefit them. So if they do struggle getting food, it'll connect them with like food banks. If they're homeless, it'll connect them with homeless shelters. And so as you can see here, it gives the name of the service, a brief description, some contact information, and then if it has a website, you can click on the website and it'll take you directly to that source's website. Also, if you have any questions or concerns about some of the services provided, you can type question or concern here. So topic, question, and you submit it. And then it's put in a forum where other users have also asked similar questions and concerns. So let's say, for instance, you click on a question, the topic's up top, questions below, and let's say you know the answer to one of their questions or concerns. You can type the answer here and then respond, and then it shows up there. So yeah, that's about it.
It's awesome. It's great to see CS50 students really using their projects to try to help the greater Boston community. What inspired you to put together Boston Auxilium?
Well, I'm also in a freshman seminar called Child Health in America, and in that course we talk a lot about the social determinants of health, so things outside of like your genetic code and stuff that affect your health. And so one of the things my teacher said is we live in an age where your zip code is more important than your genetic code revolving around your health. So I wanted to create a service similar to that, and so yeah. I knew of other services such as Health Leads that work similarly, but I don't know, I feel like it's a lot more easy to automate that kind of thing, so.
Yeah, for sure, and it can be tough for some people to talk about different challenges that they're facing over the phone. Having an online forum where they're able to ask questions and really crowdsource answers, that's gonna be a phenomenal resource moving forward. So as you were coding this and putting all this together for the CS50 Fair, what was the biggest challenge you faced? What was the hardest thing about putting this together?
Definitely putting together the database of like all the different resources, because there's not, just like an SQL out there waiting to be used. So I actually had to go to
Boston Children's Hospital's website, and they have a pretty comprehensive list of all the services that are out in Boston. So I had to go through the PDF and manually type into an Excel spreadsheet like every single source. So that was probably the most time-consuming part, and it wasn't really a whole lot of CS related, but yeah, so definitely.
Still brutal, but now that database exists and it's going to be really helpful for people. Thank you so much, Justin. Let's go back to you guys.
Thank you, Aaron. That was great. I believe we have time to squeeze in one more interview over at the interview station, so let's head over there and learn about Maplify. All right.
And welcome back to the CS50 Fair. I am up here with Klaus, who has brought us...
So basically my project is Maplify, and what Maplify does is that it allows you to scroll through a map, designate a location that you want to go to, and once you select your location and you select your zoom level, you can create a map with different kinds of styles. So for example, you can do the black and white map that you have there, or you can do satellite image, or different kinds of maps that you might want to do.
Right, this is impressive. We don't often see a great intersection between the arts and the CS sciences. So tell me, what was the reason for making this? What was your motivation?
So basically, I saw online that there were these cool map posters, but the problem was that they were $60 and I didn't want to spend $60 on 3 maps because it seemed like a bit of a steep price for a college student.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out how to do it without paying that money. My first attempt was doing screenshots from Google Maps. But then those didn't end up being so good. The resolution just wasn't high enough. So basically then when CS50 Final Project came around, I figured out it was like a good time to try to make something better.
Right, so how does this work under the hood? How do you get all of this map data?
So basically what happens is that there's a free API from Mapbox that allows you to request images or image files from their servers, but the resolution is limited. So basically what it does is that it gets the center of the map that you want and the zoom level that you want, and then it requests 49 images and puts them on a 7x7 grid, and then stitches all of them together to make one big map that's actually high resolution enough to print out to a poster like this.
Can we see it in action?
Yeah, sure. So here is Helsinki. Helsinki because I'm from there. So for example, if you want to do this, and then here let's name it Helsinki. Then hit create. And then what's going to happen under the hood here is that we open up a project folder, and then you can see the tiles or the sub images trickling in. There will be 49 of them in total. And then once that's done, it first merges them horizontally and then vertically, and then creates an image that's actually pretty high resolution. It takes a while, but we should see in a couple of seconds.
So that's $60 right there. We've all just saved.
Yeah, this right here is $2. I printed it out this morning. So
You're selling?
Not yet. I think that might be a little bit illegal considering the API that I'm using. But for personal use, I think it's fine.
I like it.
So now we've downloaded it. So let's just hit here, download. And then once that's downloaded, we can open it up and then you can see what came out of it.
All right. So what was the biggest challenge you had with this project?
The biggest challenge was that because you're combining 49 images, you have to be very precise in which images you put next to each other, or else the roads will lead to nowhere and just won't line up. And the problem was that the tools that I got with the API didn't actually allow me to do it accurately enough. So the problem is that if you're off by 1/1000th of a latitude, the map will look terrible. So you have to be very, very careful in which images you request from the API and then how you put them together. So that was definitely the hardest part of the project.
Impressive.
Yeah.
So how did you stitch together these images yourself to fix that issue?
So I tried a lot of things at first. I was looking into panorama stitching to basically see where 2 images overlap and then how you could put them together, but then it turns out that was technically very challenging to do. But even if you did get it to work, it didn't produce a good result because the tiles are so similar to each other that it can't really detect the differences between them and put them together in a smart way. So what it ended up doing was basically a very brute force approach. So I sat down in the business school library for about a day. I requested map files from 20 different latitudes. I manually put them together, and then I wrote down that for each latitude what was the correct coefficient to basically correct the formula. And then I put those coefficients here, and then I'm doing just a best fit line, and then estimating what it would be for each city that doesn't happen to be one of those.
That's some impressive stuff. One final question. If you had all the time in the world to make this your baby, what would you improve? What would you take away?
I think the first thing that I would do is to make it a website so other people can go visit it. Right now it only works on my computer, so that would be definitely a good first step. After that, I think what I would do is to, right now you can only request cities because the latitudes actually change so much for countries that the formula that I'm using doesn't handle it correctly. So what I would do is to change up the formula so that it calculates the correct coefficient for each of the tiles individually. So you could actually have a world map that looks something similar to what we saw here.
Okay. So this doesn't work on a countrywide scale quite yet?
Not quite yet. I've tried it myself. It looks okay, but not very good.
You'll get there sometime.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
All right, welcome back here at the desk. We've got a couple of friends from GitHub. We have Vanessa and Eric. Welcome to the table. Nice to have you both here. Now you both have an education background, right? So tell me a little bit about your teaching background, being at GitHub teaching.
Do you want to go first?
Sure, yeah. I taught in New York City for a few years, and then from there I actually taught for a coding boot camp, and then now I teach for GitHub. I'm a trainer at GitHub.
And I used to teach online classes in poetry and fiction writing, and I wanted to learn how people actually learned things. And so I did my graduate degree here at Harvard in educational technology. And I knew of David Malin's CS50 because this campus went crazy the weekend of CS50. And I was like, why is everyone so excited about all these undergrads and their final projects? But I knew of
this room?
Yeah,
yes, it gets
many moons before then. And at GitHub, I work on the teacher experience. So I help teachers like David Malin integrate Git to match their teaching philosophy.
Right, because we've actually transitioned a lot of CS50's infrastructure to get in GitHub this year with our new submission system and everything like that. So I know there's a lot of submissions coming in all the time, and we're taxing the service, but we really appreciate you guys helping us to make this happen, because I think it's a great way to also introduce students to this incredibly powerful tool.
And I know that you have around 80 teaching fellows,
we
right?
have 80 teaching fellows
so,
here, yeah. And then at Yale we have another 30 or so.
100 teaching fellows, so I know that Git has enabled y'all to collaborate on rolling out CS50, which also warms our hearts.
It does. Our entire staff infrastructure is actually transitioned also. And now, Eric, this is actually not the first time that we've met. We met about a year and a half ago in San Diego, as we were just talking about before we came on, in connection with CS50 AP, and then you ended up in this role here. But I understand that this was a special calendared event for you.
Yes. I actually, with GitHub we have a conference stipend each year, and instead of going to a conference, I actually wanted to be here and see how things are going with CS50 and check in.
Well, we're honored that you would use your one annual stipend to spend the afternoon here with us. Have you had a chance to walk around and see students' projects?
Yeah, and they've been coming up to our booth and talking about them. It's really exciting. Some really cool stuff.
What are some of the things you've seen that you just didn't expect you would see?
The facial recognition stuff, that was pretty wild. Eric pointed out that when people come by the booth, we just say, "What's your project?" And everyone is so stoked to talk about their projects. But yeah, I was blown away.
One of them has the ability for you to, I think if you're a Harvard student registered and your face goes up there, it can identify who you are.
Oh, I saw that. That was actually, I think, just back here earlier during the first shift.
Yeah.
I saw that. That was, I'm glad it wasn't looking at me. It was a little intimidating. Do you have any advice for folks who are either, maybe given your education background, maybe we have folks watching who are considering maybe teaching CS50 AP or some computer science class, and they're nervous about it? I mean, obviously, we face a dearth of computer science educators. There's not enough teachers to teach the students that we want to teach. Do you have any advice coming from that field of go for it, or?
Make it fun. Get the students excited. The reason I even know about CS50 was I started by teaching kids on Khan Academy, and then from there discovered this whole world of CS50, and I actually reached out to David, and he sent my 6th grade students and some high school students too. We did an after school club, a bunch of CS50 swag, and that was the beginning of this relationship, which is extended. So whatever makes the kids excited and feels fun to you?
I definitely say that's true. Personal interest and like learner-centeredness, super important. I would also say start with Scratch, which I know David implemented and is made retention in CS50 that much higher.
Yeah, we still start with it now.
Start with it now. When I was an intern on the Scratch team, I studied little kids about what motivated them to make another project. And it turns out that they really want peer appreciation. So I think about ways to connect and share with your peers. And then use the really awesome CS50 resources that are out there. Like, you have made this kit that is so wonderful and robust. So teachers can use that, and also we'll support you with all the swag you need. Access to the Student Developer Pack, which is free software for students.
Yeah, I mean, and talking about like having peers celebrate your accomplishments, like that's why we're here, right? Like to celebrate what our students have done. I want to thank you guys again so much. It's so wonderful to like have this collaboration and be able to use these tools and teach students about this and have them go on and actually use these things in the real world. So thank you again so much for all of your support to help make this possible.
Thank you.
And speaking of celebrating our peers' accomplishments, we're going to take a look at another project over at the interview station with Tom. Let's take a look at flight routes.
Hey, Tom Bellator here with the final student interview with Sasha from the Kennedy School of Government, and he's got an app called the Mile Master. So let's take a look at this. Can you describe it?
Thanks, Tom. So one of my hobbies is traveling using frequent flyer miles. They let me save a dime and to travel in business and first class without breaking the bank.
Okay.
So over here, I've sent to the app on my home airport of Toronto. I'm Canadian myself. And we can just sort of zoom out and see this is everywhere in the world you can go to from Toronto on non-stop flights. So let's say I decide to take a trip here to Newark, New Jersey, for whatever reason. This over here you can see, you can fly from Toronto to Newark on Air Canada and United Airlines. And I've heated up over here on the right-hand side. These are the number of frequent flyer miles it'll cost to fly between Toronto and Newark on either Air Canada or United Airlines. And the idea is, by being able to comparison shop like this, people are able to make better decisions with their frequent flyer miles.
That is so cool. So like the data, like where do you get the data from? Like at least for the airports and the flights between them?
So the actual airport data, believe it or not, is pulled from Wikipedia. Every airport in the world has a Wikipedia page that tells you what other airports it connects to.
Okay.
And the actual calculation for the number of miles, every mileage program is they all have their own algorithms that are published online. All I'm doing is replicating it. And this data right now, in the form that it's in, does not exist on the internet in any other form.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like this. So how did you code it? Like what language did you use?
Primarily Python on the back end, JavaScript on the front end, thanks to everything we learned in CS50.
Yeah.
That's what really helped to power this project forward.
Cool. So just in general about CS50, like what are your thoughts?
It's an extremely demanding course, but so rewarding when you pull through. And the amount of passion that both the students and the instructors like yourself bring to it, that's what really defines this course.
Cool.
It's sort of become the quintessential Harvard experience for me now. And hey, I'm glad I powered through it.
That's really nice to hear. Sweet. So what was like the low point for you in the course? Like when you're like, why did I even take this or something? Did you have any of those moments?
Probably the 4th or 5th problem set, which I'm sure you remember. Those are the advanced problem sets
Pointers,
you can see. So as soon as we get to the end of that, we start web programming, and that's sort of where you start to see the results quickly, because you're able to take what you learned before and then quickly see fast results afterwards. So it's sort of like you got to eat your veggies before you get to dessert.
Exactly. Well, Sasha, this is a really nice job, and you're going to carry this forward, you think?
I hope so, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would definitely use it. I'm flying to Tokyo tomorrow, so I'm going to definitely be
out.
wondering how many frequent flyer miles I need to upgrade or something.
Wait,
cool.
I'm also using it for my own winter travel, so happy to help you out.
Very good. Sasha, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, Tom. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Well, the time is 3:30 p.m., so after 3:30 p.m. actually, and we're about to call it a day here at the CS50 Fair. I just want to thank you all so much for being watching along with us. Erin, thank you for...
Yeah, thanks, Doug. And, as many of you know, Doug does a huge part here prepping for the fair, and all of us from the staff really want to thank you for all the hard work that you put into it.
Oh, you're so sweet. And then you cry on camera. And of course, thank you to all of our students. We can put on all the prep that we want to get this set up and make this space look beautiful. But it's all the interviews that we saw. It's the 700 plus projects that students presented today. This is really what it's about. It's all about celebrating what the students have done and seeing that trajectory from point A to point B. For every student, regardless of whether they come in with a ton of experience or with no experience at all, that trajectory is unique. That growth is remarkable. It is always inspiring to see. I wouldn't have done this for 11 years running if it was boring or the same. Every year is different.
Yeah, and it's always so interesting to see. So I'm Aaron Carvalho.
And I'm Doug Lloyd, and we're going to say goodbye to David Malin in just a minute. He's going to be joining us in the field. There's, again, so many other people on the CS50 team that we want to say thank you to. Jill Letney, our project manager, she won't come on camera, she's too shy. But she put together, she made this event happen with all the lights, and the production team who are behind and have been telling me which camera to look at, and I've been looking at the wrong one pretty much the whole day.
Greg Mitleiter, our outreach.
Everybody really, Greg and Arturo, and just everybody on the team.
There's so many to name, we don't know.
We're going to toss it to David in the fields. That's a wrap for us.
Hello, world.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us for this year's CS50 Fair. This was our 10th annual CS50 Fair, and it would not be a CS50 Fair without...
Hello, world. I'm Zamila, and actually this is my 8th CS50 Fair. And every year it just gets more and more exciting with all of the students. You all make it so unique, this experience. I just want to thank you all and say congratulations to all of you. If you look back to where you started in week 0, then hopefully you reflect on what was a rewarding and possibly difficult journey, but rewarding nonetheless. I'm so proud of all of you. Thank you so much for making this course special.
Thank you from me as well. This is undoubtedly our biggest CS50 Fair yet. Gone are the balloons, and in now are all of these LED lights. Thank you so much to the 700 students who presented their projects here today, and even more students who are tuning in from online. Thanks especially to CS50's production team. Behind the scenes today were 17 members of CS50's team and friends across campus, cutting 11 different angles from the CS50 Fair, this being just among them. I think we still have a little bit of time, for a few more projects.
Go check out some.
So thank you so much for joining us for this year's CS50 Fair, the 10th annual. Stay tuned next year around this same time for the 11th annual CS50 Fair. Thanks so much from David, from
Zamila.
This is CS50.